Hey guys, it's Scott from Phasing Player here. I think I have everything right. I was having some cabling issues, but I see myself over here. I see that I'm live, and welcome to another solo stream this afternoon on what is today, April 2nd, Thursday, April 2nd. I been kind of hanging out today, getting ready for this, looking to play some Oceans this evening on Tabletop Sim. We've moved our game group online officially this week, and not that we played last week, we didn't play anything last week, and kind of missed it, so we decided to try Tabletop Sim. I've used Tabletop Sim for years now, and I'm kind of going to be getting some buddies into it this upcoming week, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to playing games regularly. It's only been a week since we stopped playing games regularly, but it feels like a little longer, I guess. Time this year has been strange, right? January took forever, March took forever. It's technically April now, but here we are. Comet Crack, thanks for joining. I hope that auditing checks is a real blast for you. And I hope that you guys enjoy watching me get my butt kicked by the Spanish in Navajo Wars, which is what I'm playing. The box is sitting back here. I've played this game a handful of times. I'm going to be playing the intro scenario, the first scenario, not the tutorial scenario. What is the name of it? I don't remember the name of the first scenario, but it's the first scenario of the game. It's kind of a simpler one. I don't expect this is going to take too long, either because I'm going to get my butt kicked pretty quick, or even if it goes the distance, there's kind of a limited deck in play here. And so it's probably not going to take too long to get to some resolution. Now, I do not have a tutorial or anything up for Navajo Wars. This is actually the first time I've done anything with Navajo Wars on this channel. And so what I'll do is give kind of an overview of the game for people unfamiliar with it. And hopefully that'll allow you to follow along and see what's going on. John Morris, thank you for joining. Yeah, Navajo Wars is cool. I've been interested in Navajo Wars and Comancheria for a little while now. And in my in a vlog that I posted like a month ago now, my vlog that I think I said I was going to try to do weekly, I've now done. If I do one, I think this month it'll be monthly, but we'll see. I've been interested in this game and Joel Toppin's other game, Comancheria, for a little while. I own both. Navajo Wars, I think, is still in print. I think it came back into print last year. Comancheria has been out of print for a little bit, but I picked up a copy for probably roughly MSRP on eBay. I think it was like $60-ish plus shipping. It was still under 70, so pretty good, I think. And I'm looking forward to playing Comancheria still. I have not yet done it, but that'll be, it's the era of solo gaming right now. The era of solo gaming means Navajo Wars will get played, Comancheria will get played. I actually just got in the mail the other day, let me reach over here. When I sat this over here, it felt closer than it actually is. I got turned on to Lurker magazine recently. It's like a heavy metal board gaming magazine. It's kind of a strange intersection, but it's got almost like a TSR looking dragon on the back. So I picked this up recently. And I've flipped through it, I've read some stuff in it. It's a cool magazine if you guys are into like metal and tabletop games. I assume you're at least into tabletop games if you're watching this. Go check it out. Actually, off the top of my head, don't know their website, unfortunately. But it is, if you just search Lurker magazine, I think it'll probably come up pretty fast. But the reason I mention it now is because it comes with a solo game from Nate Hayden, who, if you don't know who Nate Hayden is, well, crazy chance opportunity here. I have an interview up with him on the channel. Well, part of an interview. We talked for a long time. And so I've got the first part of my interview with Nate Hayden up on my YouTube channel where you're watching this, or on SoundCloud, which is soundcloud.com/phasingplayer. And you can listen to the first part of that. And in the recent issue of Lurker, he actually came out with a solitaire game called House on the Borderland. And I've not yet played it. It's still kind of in its plastic, and I'm looking forward to trying it out. I might try it out this weekend or next week, and maybe do like a stream of it or something. I know very little about it. I talked about it a little bit with Nate in the interview, which I did the interview like his games chronologically, so this is the last part we'll talk about this, but that should be up in like probably next week or the week after. But I might also do a stream of that in the meantime. Lurker looks like the accompaniment of Cave Evil. Kind of. It's definitely got an aesthetic to it that is similar to Cave Evil. Very black and white, very like a lot of line art, probably like pretty AD&D inspired, but it's a cool thing. Navajo Wars is $54 on Amazon Prime right now. That's yeah, I think I got my copy through Card House maybe. I think it was around that price too, around $50-ish. That's pretty good. I remember a couple of years ago when Navajo Wars was out of print. It was out of print for a while, and people were getting like $100 for the game, and Comancheria right now is like $100 or, you know, at $90 around there in the aftermarket. I think Navajo Wars is cool. Maybe you guys will watch this and think, hey, that game sure does look cool. Scott was right, and you'll buy it. Or you'll think it looks dumb and you won't buy it. Who knows? But why don't we take a look at the map I have set up right now, and let me just look over at my little stack of equipment here. I miss having Ben here. Ben is normally the guy that runs our streams, and Ben, I hope you're doing well, and I look forward to having you back running our streams for us soon. In the meantime, though, I'm gonna hit this cut button and look down here. Oh, I froze up. Hold up. Am I frozen? Okay, well, I felt like we were running good. It's me too, I think. All right, well, if you guys can still hear me, you're not gonna hear me in a second. I've been having computer troubles lately. It's been a huge pain. Not a good time to have what could be expensive repair fixes. Let's see. So I'm gonna have to hit end stream on this. I'm not gonna end the YouTube stream, so you shouldn't have to switch. So give me just a moment. I don't know if you can still hear me. All right. Okay, so it looks like maybe we're live again. Cool, thank you. Thank you, and I'm sorry, but I have no idea what happened. My OBS froze up, and I'm hoping it doesn't happen again, but we'll see. I restarted it, and it seemed to work okay. So anyway, like I was saying, I have Navajo Wars set up here. Like I mentioned at the jump, it's the first scenario, and so let's try that cut again. So here's the map. I've got it all set up for, like I said, for scenario. I know it's kind of high up, the camera, to get everything on screen. I'm hoping you guys can kind of see what's up here and what's going on. I'll be sure to narrate, though, what's happening. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to give an overview of the game, so let's go ahead and do that right now. This is the map of Navajo Wars. It's a pretty good looking board. It's got like these areas that are these gemstones and these rocks that sort of by color separate the regions, the territories, and then also this is where your units move around. Cat Oliver is joining us here, and if you're good, I'll let you stay up here, but otherwise I'm gonna have to boot you, buddy. All right, I'm sorry. So this is the map. Almost everything stays on here. There's not that much that goes on outside of the map, which is cool. I have these culture cards out here that are out of play right now, and I guess this dice bag, but otherwise everything else is on here. The game is played with a deck of cards. You separate the deck based on what scenario you're playing, and so for this intro scenario, I shuffled everything up, made 2 stacks of 8 cards, and then put a couple of event cards in those. Shuffled them independently, and then stacked them together. But I've got a whole bunch of cards outside of the game right now that are not going to see play this scenario. So there's a good amount of variability there in regards to the cards that come into play from game to game. And there's also this little AI track here, which also sort of gets shuffled up. Depending on the scenario you're playing, we're playing the first one, which they go chronologically by time. And the early scenarios deal with the Spanish, which use these yellow AI tokens. There's also green tokens for Mexicans, and then blue tokens for Americans, but those are for later scenarios. The game is played out until either there's an automatic victory or defeat, or in the case of this scenario, when the second event card comes out of the stack. I forget the name of it right now. It's like Franciscan something something. But when the second event card comes out of here, which will be at the earliest, the 10th card in this deck. There's 19 or 18 cards in this deck. The first 9 have 1 event card in them, and the second 9 have 1 event card. So once that second one comes out, we'll do a victory check, and the game will definitely end there. But it could end earlier, probably if I lose, if these tracks get too bad for me. So speaking of these tracks, this is the kind of main section of the board that'll determine how well or how poorly I'm doing. This is probably going to be hard to read. You guys maybe can let me know if you can read any of these. They're tiny chits with text on them. I've put a couple discs under these because these 2 are the important ones. But if you can read these, let me know. I will say what they are now, though. The top one, these brown ones are all mine, by the way. And just like the yellow counters here, these yellow counters are for the enemy, the Spanish. Hey, buddy. So the top one here is culture. Okay, culture in this scenario largely is going to be used for bringing out new families into the board and for raising my military track, because the most important token for me this game is my military. The enemy morale is the enemy's most important, and really, Oliver, okay, buddy, you're a good cat, okay, you're very friendly. Unfortunately, you're stepping all over these cards, buddy, so I'm going to have to scooch you off the board, all right? So let's get up. Oh, I know, buddy. You're a good cat, but you're a heavy cat. Okay. I'm sorry, I had to get rid of my cat there. Had to do an emergency evacuation. All right. So anyway, like I was saying, military, the second counter for me, is my most important one. And it goes directly against the enemy morale. At the end of the game, when we do a victory check, ultimately, my victory will be dependent on if my military is higher than my enemy's morale. Okay? If it is, I'm going to have either a minor victory or a major victory. If it is not, my enemy will have a minor, or I will have a minor defeat or a major defeat. Okay? So I put these 2 discs under here so you guys know exactly where those are at. The brown one is my military, and the yellow one here is my enemy's morale. The enemy also has ferocity, which is going to determine a little bit how much they want to kick my butt, like in raids. They can raid me from Santa Fe and run roughshod all over my land. And their ferocity is going to sort of be a measurement of that. And then finally, I have APs, which are action points, and MPs, which are movement points. Movement points is actually, I have it on 0 here. It will come into play only when I do actions with my families. All right. When I do actions, I will raise the movement points, typically up to 6, and I will do a bunch of stuff with one family, which costs movement points, and then when I go to act with another one of my families, I'll reset my movement points for them. So movement points tracks individual families. Oh, and I'm crashing again. Let me see, because if it's going to keep doing this every few minutes, this is not going to work. Let me check my computer temps and make sure nothing's overheating. It's actually cool in my apartment right now. No, usage is pretty low on everything. But if I can't get this to work right, what I might do, No, Crack, it's not an internet problem. As far as I can tell, it's explicitly OBS, Open Broadcasting Software, which is what I use to stream. It keeps like freezing up, it keeps locking up. And with that, of course, all of my stream, everything I'm broadcasting through these cameras, also locks up. And so I'm wondering why it's crashing, because yeah, my internet's fine. YouTube still says I have an excellent connection. It's just this one thing. So let's see, while it is actively running, I'm at like 40% CPU usage. This shouldn't really use GPU at all. And my memory is fine. Okay, well, you know, I restarted OBS again. I'm gonna see what happens. If it locks up, realistically, I'm probably gonna have to delay this, maybe till tomorrow. Because I'm gonna have to sit down and see what I can do. I don't have a ton of experience troubleshooting OBS, so I might have to reach out to some people and see. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll keep an eye on it, and I have a monitor right here. I can see what's going on, and so all I can really do is try to keep an eye on it right now. If it crashes again, I'll probably have to do Navajo Wars another time, unfortunately. Because if this is going to be crashing every few minutes, that's not going to be very fun to watch or very fun for me to run, for that matter. So anyway, let's get back into Navajo Wars and kind of giving an overview of what I'm doing, and we'll cross our fingers. Zoop. All right. So back into Navajo Wars. Make sure I got all my screens up. I do. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to kind of keep my hands out here a little bit. I don't want to cover up stuff too much, but I want to make sure I can tell when it's frozen. So anyway, like I said, we're dealing with these tracks, and this is going to be kind of the main thing I am reacting to the whole game. All right. I also, as I mentioned, have these little squares out here, these little counters, and these are my families. My families, I have up to, 6 of them? Yeah, up to 6 families at a given time. They're all measured down here. Right now I have families, and you can't read this, but I have families A, B, and C out. The only important part is that they are separated. A isn't inherently different from B, and B isn't inherently different from C, etc. It's just to differentiate. The only things that really differentiate a family, there are, 5 points, okay? Their evasion, their ferocity, and which family members they have with them, okay? Evasion is used, as you might guess, for evading. When the enemy raids, which I'm certain they will do, it is a pretty common action for them to take, they will run through these areas. And when they encounter one of my families, I will either fight them or I will evade them, okay? Fighting is typically dangerous because when I fight, they can capture me, and being captured, as you might guess, is bad. It'll probably result in my family being killed. Evading, however, lets me run away. And when I run away, I can kind of distance myself from the raiding party. You'll see how raiding works when it comes up, but I can distance myself from them and hopefully not encounter it again. So evasion, early on at least, is good. I can get firearms later, which make fighting a bit easier, and I can get stuff that'll modify my combat effectiveness. So then maybe I want ferocity, so I have a bit better of a chance to fight. But early, I want evasion. So evasion and ferocity are used for running from battles or battling. The family members you have are either a man, a woman, or a child, or all 3. At the start of the game, each of my families has all 3. To fight, I need to have a man, okay? And having a man in my family also lets me move my military a little more easily. Having a woman in my family allows for me to collect trade goods at certain points of the game. And trade goods are really nice because they're sort of like catch-alls almost. I can exchange them for a bunch of things. Animals, I think I can change these tracks a little bit with trade goods. I can make enemies run away. You can negotiate with them to stop attacking you. So there's a bunch of stuff trade goods can be used for, and you need a woman to get trade goods. And finally, children do nothing, or at the very least, they don't do anything actively. They'll get added to the passage of time, which will allow them to grow up and become men or women or elders. Elders don't end up in your family. They're a separate thing that I'll talk about in a bit. But essentially, that's what I'm dealing with families. So running from battles, battling, and then managing these 3 family members. Family members are also vital for getting me victory points. This is not a victory point game necessarily. Again, I win by having higher military than morale, but in this scenario, it'll be 2 times. I'll have to do a victory check, which is going to be a number printed on the card. The first victory check is going to be 8 victory points, and the second one is against 10 victory points. And I'm going to add up territories where my families are. They each have a set VP amount. It's listed kind of up here. I know you probably can't see it, but San Juan Valley, for instance, gives me 3 victory points as long as I have a family in here. Shiprock gives me 4 victory points as long as I have a family, somewhere in here, etc. I'm going to add all those up where I have families, subtract the event card victory from that total. So it starts off at 3 and 4, so 7. This one is not worth any points. Minus 8, so I'm going to get -1 victory point off the bat. And that negative is going to force me to lose military strength. If it's a positive, so if I had 9 victory points, take 8 off of that, I'd have a positive. I then gain military points. And again, to win this, I'm going to need to have military higher than enemy morale. So everything I'm doing pretty much is going to be me focusing on trying to get my military high. All right, so that is sort of the importance of my families, to keep them alive, to get victory points, all right, just by having presence here. I can get more families into the game, and I'm going to want to do that so, again, I can have more people in different territories. And when you're measuring victory points, you are measuring just having any amount of families in a territory. So if I have 5 families in San Juan, it still only gets me 3 victory points, which is what I would get if I had 1 family in San Juan. So I want to spread out, okay? Of course, spreading out means when raids come through, losing those guys can be a little more traumatic. So it's a bit of a balance, but in this scenario, I'm going to want to spread out. All right, so the way the AI works, this is a solo game, so it has an AI. When I flip over one of these cards, which the game plays by flipping over one of these cards, doing what it says, and then repeating that until you finish the game. When I flip over a card, in most instances, I'm going to have to go through this enemy AI over here. The enemy will get points to spend, that the card will tell me how many points they get, and they're going to spend AP, which is their points, on these little chits going top to bottom. So this first one is a subjugate action, and it's going to cost them 2 action points. Once they resolve that, you'll move it over to the other side, then they'll try to do the next one, and then the next one, and so on and so on. They likely will only be able to do 1 or 2, especially early on, because they'll run out of points, okay? These are kind of expensive. But as they do these actions, the ones they don't do slide up, and then these kind of cycle back around. So it's a whole system of, them moving through different actions, and there's ways to flip them, left and right. We'll get into that in more detail as we're doing it. I'll talk through my turns. But generally speaking, I'm going to flip a card, see what the enemy does. I'm going to do some stuff out here, and then we're going to repeat that until we do both events, or until I lose automatically. I lose automatically if my military gets to 0 and my culture gets to 0. If both these are at 0, I'm pathetic and I've lost. Okay? There is a way for me to win automatically as well, which is to get the enemy counters all the way down, but that is very hard and it's not going to happen. Okay, so broadly speaking, that is how the game works. I will talk through my turns as I do them, and hopefully that will give you all a pretty clear idea of how Navajo Wars plays and maybe if it's a game for you. That was a lot of talking. Gotta take a sip of water. There's also some cup pulls where I'll draw these counters out of a cup, but that'll come up only in certain instances. It might not come up in the scenario. It's a pretty, like I said, it's a pretty simple scenario compared to some of the later ones, and it's a good introduction though. So, okay. I have everything set up. I've put out my families in the places that it tells me to. I've got everything down here set up. I've got these tracks set up based on the scenario. I've got my deck seated. The AI is good to go. The last thing that I should mention are these cards along the side. These almost certainly will see no play, this scenario. I'm sorry to say, if you're a fellow that likes cards, boy, this is mostly not going to be the scenario for you. These are culture cards and are essentially upgrades to your abilities. You can buy them at certain points in the game, and you take them. You're supposed to put them down here, but for the purpose of this stream, I'm going to put them up here. You put them into your area where you know that you have them, and they give you like passive or occasionally active bonuses. In this scenario, because it's short, I probably won't end up buying many of these, maybe one or two, maybe. And I do start the game with one. I choose one to start with, and I chose Wisdom of the Ancient Ones, which allows me, like I said, my idea here is to get my military high. And this lets me, during a planning operation, which is one of the operations I can take, there are 3 I can take, I may automatically lower my culture by 1 to boost my military by 1. Normally to do that, I have to make a die roll, and I might fail. I probably will fail. With this card, I can do it automatically. So that's going to be a good way for me to get my military up a little more reliably. And I can upgrade that card too. There are 3 stages to each of these cards. But again, they cost points, they cost culture points, and I'm probably going to want to use my culture to boost my military. So we'll see if I buy any of these. Anyway, why don't we start? First thing we have to do is flip over the top card in this deck. It's possible it's the first event card. I hope it's not, but, well, I mean, who knows? If it is, it is. It isn't. So it's an operations card. There are 2 types of cards. I'll take one from out of the game so I don't see what's coming up. There are operations cards and ceremony cards, which again, you guys can't really read these, but this one is more brown, ceremony is more blue. So you're gonna draw one of those 2 most likely, most probably operations. Operations is where the enemy does stuff on their AI track and where I get to do stuff out here. If a ceremony card comes out, it's very fast to resolve and no one does anything out here, okay? So with operations, there are 4 little bars on it, and you can probably see the different sort of coloration, even if you can't read the text. At the top is the operations segment. It's gonna tell you how I can preempt the enemy. The enemy will always go before me unless I spend APs to preempt them. And then it'll tell you how many points, how many APs they get themselves to act with, okay? So I can choose here to preempt for 2 APs. I have 3 right now. And in that case, the enemy will collect 2 APs to do stuff with. If I don't preempt them, they get 3 APs. My action points do not refresh or anything at the end of the round, but they do stay where they're at if I don't spend all of them. The enemy that gains APs, they'll always get at least 1, and they will save any they have as well. So if they collect 3 and they spend 2 but can't do this next action because it costs too much, they will still hoard that extra 1 that they collected, and so over time they'll build up more of a hoard and be able to do more actions, okay? So then after you do the operations segment, you'll check these 2 events, major event and minor event. The major event, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. In this case, it's good. The major event is going to give me firearms, like I mentioned earlier. All the stuff in this box is the out of play stuff. So this is not yet available to use, but I can do stuff to collect it. And it's limited. So there's 1 firearms here, that is the firearms I can get. So this event is going to give me firearms, which is great. That allows me to be better in battle. And the minor event is going to have me roll a die, and one of my territories is going to suffer drought. I need to feed my family on occasion. And when I say on occasion for some of this stuff, most of it is up to me. When I take certain actions, it's going to dictate I do certain things or satisfy certain parameters. Feeding my family is part of the passage of time action. So if I take that, I will have to feed my family. And drought makes it harder to feed my family, as you can expect. If there's a drought, I can't grow food as easily, and so life is a little worse. So this is going to add drought to the board somewhere. So now I need to think, do I want to preempt the enemy? Well, let me take a look at what they're going to do. They're going to subjugate, it costs 2, and they're going to collect at least 2 action points, which means they will be able to afford it. The next action is build. Build is going to cost them 3. Even if I don't preempt them, they're only going to collect 3 action points. They're going to spend 2 on subjugate, and they're going to not have enough to build, regardless. So it might be beneficial for me here to wait and let them subjugate and save my action points for other things in the game. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'll say this too, I am not an expert at this game. I've played it a handful of times. I could be making super stupid decisions, but I'm going to talk them out and make myself sound like I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to not preempt them here based on the fact that they're not going to be able to afford all this stuff, okay? Because I'm not preempting, they get to act first. The first thing I need to do is roll 2 dice, and that's going to determine if any of this stuff moves. So let's roll these dice, and I got a 2 and a 2, all right? That might be bad. That's potentially going to throw a wrench in me choosing not to preempt them. Now, when you roll the dice, if you don't roll doubles, you will flip over a couple of these counters based on what you rolled. So if I rolled a 2 and a 3, I'd flip over the thing in the 2 spot, and I'd flip over the thing in the 3 spot, okay? But because I rolled doubles, what instead I will do is go to the 2 slot, because I rolled 2 2s, and I'm going to exchange the position of these. So that build action goes away, and it now becomes subvert. And subvert is actually something they might be able to afford now, okay? Because it has a variable cost. It's going to cost them 1 to 3 action points. So because they're going to do 2 on subjugate, they're going to have 1 left over, and they might be able to do a subvert action. So I hope I just didn't screw myself up too much by not preempting them. So enemy AP, you can track it a couple ways. The default way is with a few counters that kind of go down here on the side of the board. So I'm going to put them over here. And this is how much AP they have to spend in the game, or in this round, okay? And again, they're going to do stuff from top to bottom, and they will spend as much of their AP as they can. So the first thing they're going to do is subjugate. It costs them 2, so I'm going to take these 2 and discard them. And then they're going to perform the subjugate action. Subjugate is going to use this bag of cubes. There are a few different colors in here, and subjugate says that they will pull out a number of cubes equal to the amount of AP they spent on that action. They spent 2, so they're going to pull out 2 cubes. First one they pull out is black, and the second one they pull out is white. And that's okay. That's not, I mean, it's kind of always bad for me because it shrinks the pool, and I want to be able to draw black cubes especially, but it is not as bad as it could have been. What they want to do, what that action stands for, subjugate, is subjugating New Mexico. And they want to draw red cubes to stick into this subjugation of New Mexico box, bowl, circle, whatever you want to call it. When they get enough cubes in here, bad guy stuff happens. And so you don't want them to get too many red cubes up here. At 3 cubes is when they can do some bad stuff, potentially. But any cubes they get in here makes them act a little more freely. So anything else goes in recovery. These will end up back in this bag at some point. So they spent those 2 on subjugate. And now they are going to spend a little more on subvert. So the way subvert works is, let's see. The game, I'll show what I'm looking at here to resolve some of these, is the game comes with this player aid, this fold-out player aid that maybe looks kind of complex, but it's pretty straightforward, pretty good. It's got what everything does on it, and this is the enemy instruction summary. And so they're doing subvert. And this has them spend APs per the instruction counter. If there are fewer than 3 cubes in Subjugate New Mexico, they will conduct a subjugate action instead. So pretty straightforward. They're just going to subjugate one more time. They're going to spend 1 AP. Like I mentioned before, they will draw a number of cubes equal to the AP they spend. They spent 1, they will draw 1. And they drew yellow. So another one in the recovery box. With the subjugate action, everything except red goes into recovery. And that is going to send subvert over. And now the enemy is out of AP, and so we are going to refresh their little AI board over here. And to do that, you slide everything up the active track, and then you slide everything down and around from inactive to active. And that is going to be the enemy operations turn. And we'll do that for them every time we draw the operations card. Give them APs, see what they can do, and then resolve each one. So now it's my turn. I can do one of 3 actions, all right? I can either do actions, which is how I, again, move stuff around here. I can raid New Mexico. Oh, my kitty cats are having a good time. They get real excited. My cats in general. I wish I had a camera here. I could, like a mobile camera on me. Whenever I'm like speaking out loud or instructing something, my cats get super excited. I don't know why exactly. I don't know if anyone else that has cats experiences this, but they get really excited and they like to wrestle around. And one of my cats, Oliver, is very vocal. He yells and screams whenever he's playing around or having fun. So if you're ever watching my streams or you see my videos and you hear cats yelling and screaming, that's pretty much all that's going on. Is Oliver and Lucy are wrestling and Oliver gets very vocal, which just like that. So let's get back to the game here, kitties. Oliver, you're being very loud, buddy. You know that, Pete? You're being a loud cat. Okay. So I'm actually gonna mute myself and separate them real quick, just because they're being very loud and it's making me laugh and it's distracting me. So give me 1 second while I do that. All right, cool. I'm back. All right, things are cool. I accidentally pulled my microphone out. I realized we're back. We have audio. This has been a super smooth stream. There's been no issues at all. Everything is great. Anyway, so as I mentioned, I can do actions, which lets me do some stuff out here, move my guys around, do attacks on New Mexico, which is probably what I'm going to do this turn. But the other things I can do are plan. I can do the planning action, which will allow me to get some trade goods. It lets me potentially move stuff around here, let my elders do some things, etc. It's sort of, it's planning. It's trying to set up things for the future. And finally, I can do the passage of time, which is not going to do anything for me really right now. But if I had people in the passage of time box, which comes up later on, the passage of time action allows me to add them into new families or existing families, turn them into elders, have kids grow up into adults, that kind of thing. And passage of time can be pretty good. It can raise my culture as well. Which again, culture is often going to be used to grow military. So most of my moves are probably going to be planning and passage of time actions. But right now, we're going to do some regular cool guy stuff out on the board. Because I need goods. I need to draw some cubes. I need to get some horses that lets me move around a little more easily. I need to, start setting up for raids that'll be coming, that kind of thing. So we're going to do actions, and we're going to do family A, family B, and then family C. So family A, they get 6 movement points for their actions. And the first thing they're going to do is raid New Mexico. Whenever you raid New Mexico, you are going to raid into Santa Fe. And the cost of that is going to be a number of movement points equal to basically the distance you are from Santa Fe. You add up, each one of these has numbers underneath it, and you're going to add up all the ones between you and Santa Fe, and that's how many movement points it's going to cost you. I am on the spot right next to Santa Fe. You don't add up the one that you're on, but you do add the one in Santa Fe. So it's going to cost me 1 movement point to do a raid down here. And so I'm going to do that. Go from 6 to 5 with family A, And a raid, just like before with Subjugate, is just drawing cubes out of here. I'm going to draw one cube, and I got a white one. This is going to go in the raided cubes box, and a white cube says that I get a sheep. I've stolen a sheep from the Spanish, and in doing so, I've become more ferocious. So I'm going to flip this over. And at the start, I gave all my guys 2 evasion and 0 ferocity. This gives this guy 1 evasion and 1 ferocity. Okay, so in his raid, he's become a little more ferocious. And I think I'm just going to repeat that action because what I want, this sheep is good for feeding people, but what I want is a horse because it's going to let me move around a little more freely. Okay, horses are pretty good, especially early on. So this guy's going to raid again in Santa Fe, dropping his action point, or his movement points rather, down to 4 from 5. And he's going to draw, I want a black cube or a brown cube. Those are going to give me a horse. And I got a brown cube. Hey, how lucky. So this brown cube goes into raided cubes, and I add a horse to my resources. It also raises my ferocity up to 2. And it's always a tug of war with ferocity and evasion, right? So I started with 2 evasion, 1 ferocity, or 0 ferocity. I then went to 1 evasion, 1 ferocity, and now I'm at 2 ferocity, 0 evasion. So when it comes time to fight, this guy is not going to want to run away because he will not be very good at it. So then I'm going to want this guy to back up a little bit. Raids come from Santa Fe when the enemy does it, which there's a fair chance they're going to raid soon. And so I'm going to want this guy to back up. So he can move, again, along these tracks, and it's going to cost him MPs equal to the territories he's going into. He's got 4 left. This first one next to him is 2, so it's going to cost him 2 to go there. And then the next one is 3, which he won't have enough MPs to get to. I could give him this horse, and then he can move much further back. But I have other plans for this horse, and so I'm not going to give him to this guy. This guy, I'm going to have him go here. It's going to cost 2 MPs from 4 to 2. And then he does have some more movement points available. He's got 2 more available. And so I need to consider what I might want him to do. He actually could do another raid if he wants. But that's going to raise his ferocity even more. He could, well, no, he doesn't have enough points to plant corn right now. Planting corn is expensive. So maybe I might just have him hang out and not use any more points. Because really what I want to do is I want to move him back further. Being in high AP areas can be nice for some things later in the game. And I also want him I want to lower his ferocity. So when there is a raid, again, even though he's better at fighting right now, I really don't want him to fight. Though he has firearms. He'll get firearms soon. Maybe, whatever. Maybe I'm just going to let him fight. Maybe I'll let him fight. Screw it. This guy's going to fight. He's not going to keep running away. He's going to stay here. He's going to raid New Mexico one more time. So the cost is going to be 1 MP for this track, because it says 1 under here. 1 MP again for Santa Fe. That adds up to 2. That is exactly how much he has to spend. So he's going to spend that. And he's going to go ahead and raid New Mexico one more time. Carlos says it's smart to raid in the earlier turns. Yeah, I've also, that's kind of how I've been doing it, to have at least one family raid a bunch. I've had one family raid, and I got white. I've had typically one family raid a few times, and I would have the other families, usually one like plant some corn, and the other one start to move into a different area. So that's kind of what I was going to do here. So this guy spent now all of his MPs. He's now done taking actions. So let's move on to B. And this actually raises him again to -1 evasion, 3 ferocity. So let's move on to family B. Family B jumps up to 6 movement points again. And he could plant corn right now. The cost for planting corn, like I said, it's kind of expensive. It costs you 4 plus the value of the area that you are in. And he's in a 2 value area, so it's going to cost him all 6 to plant corn here, if I want him to do that. Corn is nice because I'll use it to feed, but it also slows down enemies when they're raiding. So I think I will have B plant some corn here. So it's going to cost him all 6 of his movement points. And when it comes to plant corn, I'm going to draw a random corn counter out of here. because they have different values. And I will place it face down here. It can be harvested later on, and then it can feed my family. All right, so let's go ahead then. Now that this guy's done all of his actions, he's planted corn, I'm gonna have family C move a little bit. He can go 1, again, he gets 6 movement points. If I wanna head down to Hopi land, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can get all the way back to here. It's not really good to hang out in the Canyon de Chelly. It doesn't really do anything for you. It is where new families begin. It is not worth any victory points though. And you can actually go, it is, despite how it kind of looks, it's actually connected to everything on the map. You can spend all your movement points to just zip right out of there. And so I might have him go flying out of that spot, because yeah, let's have him move to here. We're gonna go down to this place. Hopi land's worth 2 victory points later on, so right now I'm gonna be ahead of the first event card that comes out. Remember, that one's gonna be an 8 VP check, and right now I'm sitting at 3 VP for San Juan, plus 4 for Shiprock, which is 7, plus another 2 for now Hopi land, which is 9. So that puts me in a decent spot for that first event card whenever it comes out. It could be the next card, it could be 8 cards from now, but I wanna prepare for it. So that's gonna cost him all of his MPs. Carlos says that it is good to move the 3rd family to Area 4 instead of 3 or 5 to avoid the minor event of Hopi Raid. You can move it to Area 3 once you have the die roll modifier for protection. Okay, that's some good advice. I will take that. I don't think I've actually run into that minor event. So I will send this then to, let's spend all of his VP to go here. MP. We're going to Monument Valley. Yes, that is literally the name of this place. Brian. So okay, so I've done everything with all my families, and I am now in a good spot to continue on. And I am not being cheeky, that is literally the name of this place. So we now go on to the major event segment of this card, which is again firearms acquired. Very simply, I take this out of play firearms marker and I add it to my resources. This will benefit me in combat later. And then I will do the minor event, which is rolling to see which territory suffers drought. All of these territories, except for Canyon de Chelly, have a die number on them. I'm going to roll this die, and whichever one comes up is going to get a drought marker. So hopefully it is not this one, because that'll make harvesting this and planting stuff a little harder. It is number 1, which is Shiprock. So Shiprock gets a drought marker right there. And then we go into the discard phase. The discard phase is pretty straightforward right now, and it probably will be for most of this game, honestly. There's not a whole lot to it. It's just kind of bookkeeping, seeing if you automatically win the game, that sort of thing. Right now, I am not going to auto win the game, I guarantee you that. And you'd also check for forts, but there's no forts in this scenario. And so you just kind of continue on. You check to see if there are men in families that are active. If there aren't, you lower ferocity to 0. All my families still have a man, a woman, and a child. And so we go back to the top of the order, draw a new card, and it's another operations card. So in this case, I can preempt for 3 AP. If I do, they'll get 2 AP. If I don't, they'll get 4 AP. So I might want to preempt here because it's going to cut how much they get by a good amount. Though actually, they have a bunch of cubes in rated right now, and everything in the rated cubes box lowers the amount of AP they get by 1 to a minimum of 1. So actually, I take it back. I don't think I will preempt. I think I'm going to let them take another subvert action because they're just going to, it's again, nothing here. So they're just going to do another subjugate, which I mean, Subjugate's not ideal, but I'll let it happen right now. I want to save my APs essentially for when I see a bunch of stuff coming up that they're going to do, and I can jump in front of them and prepare for it more immediately. So I am going to not preempt them, and I will let them collect 4 APs, but it's going to be -3 because of these 3 cubes that are in here, and so that will give them 1 AP to work with. With that 1 AP, they're going to do a subvert action. Same thing as before. Well, actually, you know what? They might not, because I have to roll dice. For some reason, it's easy for me to forget, and I feel like I've read people talking about this. It is surprisingly easy to forget to roll the dice to adjust to this before you take actions. But I'm not going to forget this time, and hopefully not at all this game. So let's roll these 2 dice. And hey, doubles again. What are the odds? We're going to swap the build action over to there. All right, so now they're going to do subvert. Because they have fewer than 3 cubes in here, they are just going to do another subjugate action. And they only have 1 AP to spend this time, so they're only going to do 1. And they got, hey, a red cube. The odds, I think, are pretty high right now that they get red cubes. This being in here means they get more AP now when they go to take some for a turn. They get 1 AP for every red cube here and -1 AP for every cube here. And that's all they're going to be able to do this turn because they're out of action points. So these all slide up. This one goes to the bottom. And now it's my turn. So before I was talking about how I was doing actions early to kind of collect some horses and you know, plant some stuff around. Now I'm kind of thinking I'm probably going to take a planning action. Because planning is going to give me the chance to raise military. It is going to let me collect AP. It is going to allow my elders to age, which is good and bad. As the elders age, they of course get closer to dying, but when they take actions in this planning phase, this is where the elders do stuff, they have a higher chance of succeeding the further along the track they are. So I want to get them moved down a bit and then maybe start to add more elders in before these die off. And I'll be adding elders in with passage of time. So let's do a planning phase. The planning step, the first thing we need to do is take a look over at the card we drew, and there are little icons, there are little like triangles, little diamonds up here, and they have one of the 4 population counters on it. The first one I drew had a man, this one has a child. And so what that's going to do in my planning phase is I'm going to take a child from out of play and I'm going to put them in passage of time. And now I'm going to collect some AP for the elders that I have here. I have 3 elders, and so I'll collect 1, 2, 3 action points. I then will slide the elders to the right. Each one goes 1 step to the right. There are little numbers under here. And like I said, those are going to be what I'm trying to roll on dice when they do actions. Or when they die. They can potentially die in the passage of time. And now, speaking of which, I will now do elder actions. I get 1 for each elder. I have 3 elders. So I'm going to take 3 actions. The things they can do are, the big one is going to be if my culture is higher than my military. I can roll a die, and as long as I get the number I'm looking for, I can raise military 1 and lower culture 1. That's going to be the big one for me in this scenario. I can also do the reverse, raise culture to lower military, but military needs to be higher than culture to do that. Probably won't happen this game, but who knows? It might. I can also reduce or increase my ferocity here, and this is where I'm going to want to start thinking about adjusting my ferocity to get some of my escape ability, my evade ability back. And if my culture is low, I will it will add culture. If my military is low, it will add military, but it has to be less than 5. And then the last thing I can do is try to add action points back to the track. These all require die rolls, and so early on I needed a 1 or a 2, and a 1 or a 2 with these elders. So the odds are low that I'm going to succeed in any of these, except I have this Wisdom of the Ancients 1 card, which allows me during the planning operation, one of my attempts to lower culture and raise military succeeds automatically. So on this first elder action that would otherwise require a roll of 1 on a d6, I'm just going to use this card and say, let's raise my military and lower my culture for no roll. And that's going to use this elder. He stays here. I'm just going to move him up here to note that I've used him. And then this next one, let's see. I could try to do that same thing, except I'd have to roll for it. So I think I may do that. I think I'm gonna try to once again adjust these. Get culture and military equal. Culture is easier to raise than military, and it can go higher, at least with some of the ways you raise it. There are limits to how high they can go. Military caps out earlier, and I'm almost at that cap. So I'm gonna roll a die and try to raise my military again and lower my culture. I need a 1 or a 2 to succeed here. And hey, I got a 1. What luck. So my military is pretty darn high right now, which is great. I cannot do that again though, because now these are equal. And to raise my military in that manner, I need to have higher culture, and I don't have that anymore. So the last elder action I'm gonna take is going to be probably trying to reduce ferocity on this guy. Even though he's on the front lines, there is a raid coming up next turn, but I might preempt and then, retreat him. I have a ton of AP right now. So I think I'm gonna try to lower his ferocity. And so I can reduce or increase family's ferocity by 1. And if my military or culture are low enough, then I gain points that way, but they're not low right now. So I'm gonna try to lower his ferocity by 1 to 2. I need a 1 or a 2 to succeed. Hey, I got a 2. Hey, I don't think I've had actually a first go of the planning phase where all of my things succeed. I know I used the auto succeed on one of them, but I got a 1 and a 2 on the other ones. So I feel pretty good about that. So I'm changing his ferocity from 3 to 2, and that also increases his evasion from -1 to 0. So all of my elders have taken actions, and then I get a chance to buy trade goods. I have a bunch of AP, so I do want to buy some trade goods. I can buy 1 for each woman that I have in a family, and they cost me 1 AP apiece. The things I can do with trade goods, like I said, there's a whole host of things. Let me check the chart real quick. So with trade goods, I can spend 2 of them to add AP back to my track. I can spend 3 of them to collect animals. I can spend 3 to re-roll a die, or 3 to redraw a cube from here when raiding. I can spend 2 to cancel flipping over these when I roll dice. I can spend some to not have to deal with that. I can spend 3 to cancel minor events, or I can exchange some other stuff for trade goods. So I think what I'm gonna do, and Carlo, maybe you can advise me a little on this. I'm kind of thinking, because I have so much AP right now, I might spend 3 to pick up all 3 of these trade goods. So that way I have some versatility. I can use trade goods to try to negotiate if they try to attack me. And then I still have 3 AP left over, which can be used for probably, I don't know that I've seen a card that asks for more than 3 AP to preempt. So I think going from 6 to 3 to collect a few trade goods is going to be my last move here on my passage of time. And yeah, I can use them for diplomacy. True, that's right. Tribal diplomacy, which could come up. Actually, that is an option right now, I suppose. I could do tribal diplomacy because I got this sucker over here. Well, that is just going to... Tribal... I don't know that I've done tribal diplomacy before. Let me... If that event happens, I lose all my stuff. Okay, well, let me see. I guess I don't think I've done tribal diplomacy before. So let me consider... I'll consider it in the future. I won't do tribal diplomacy right now. Tribal diplomacy, I'm looking at... There's a sheet here for raiding, a flowchart for raiding, and then the flowchart for tribal stuff. And so tribal diplomacy... you can spend any number of trade goods from the resources box and then roll a die. And for every trade good I spent, I get +1. and plus X is the evasion modifier for the executing family, so I'd have to be a +2. If it's successful, roll another die and swap the targeted tribe's instruction counter with the other thing. So it's swap to a regular raid. Yeah, you know what? Let's try it. I haven't done it before. We're trying new stuff. We're in a pandemic. We're running streams on our own. Let's try something new. Let's try tribal diplomacy. So in order to do tribal diplomacy, it has to be on an active counter of either the Comanche or I don't know how to actually pronounce this. Is it Ute? I can perform it on this guy right here. And so I am going to perform tribal diplomacy on that guy. I can spend any number of trade goods from my resources box, and then I'll roll a die, and the die is +1 for every trade good, and plus X, which is going to be the evasion modifier for the executing family. I'm going to have one of my +2 families execute, and a modified roll of 6 or higher, and it's successful. So I'm getting +2, which means I need to roll a 4. If I spend 1 trade good, I'll need to roll a 3, so it's a 50-50. If I spend 2 trade goods, then I succeed on anything except for a 1 or a 2. Yeah, let's do it. Let's spend 2 trade goods, and I'll succeed. I'm going to keep this 1 in case I need to help flee from or negotiate with a raid. So I'm going to roll this anything but a 1 or a 2, and I'll succeed in my diplomacy. I got a 3. Perfect. I'm glad I spent that extra trade good. So I've succeeded in my my tribal diplomacy, and so now I roll a die. And I got a 2, which is going to swap this tribe marker that I was dealing with the build action up here. Perfect. Better to use all 3. Well, I took a risk, Carlo. It did pay off, but I'll keep that in mind. Again, I haven't run into that event before. I have not seen it, so that's you're giving me some good information, and I'm going to keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on the tribes that come out and the stuff they can do with that. So anyway, that is my planning. And by the way, these turns are going to go a little quicker. I'm describing them kind of in depth as I'm doing them, but once I do them again, it'll be much swifter. Also, is this game making sense? Do you think it's always hard for me to tell if I'm explaining stuff in a way that is like coherent or not. Cool. So now that I've done my turn, they did theirs, we're going to now go into the major event segment, which is the Apache War in New Mexico. If card 41 is still in the deck or in play, it has no effect. Card 41 is the first event card that's going to be in here, so this major event has no effect. Then we will go into the minor event segment, which is roll to see which territory suffers drought. Same as before. Roll a die, we got number 4, and that's going to go into Monument Valley. Cool, I'm glad to hear it, Carlo. All right, so let's draw another card. All right, well, let's actually do the discard phase again, but there's really nothing to deal with right now, so we're going to go ahead and flip this card over. It's another operations card. Operations are the most common cards, so expect that pretty frequently in this game. Preempt for 3, enemy gets 4 AP. If I don't preempt, they get 5. They're going to get +1 here, so they'll get 6, but then they'll get -3 because of this, so they will get 3. And that is if I do not preempt. They'll get 3, and that will just be a raid. If I do preempt, they will not be able to raid. Let's see. Am I worried about a raid right now? Because if they raid, it's going to be with 3 raid points, and I have 2 ferocity, so it'll be with 5 raid points. They'll come out of Santa Fe, and they'll drop 1 here. They'll drop 1 here. They'll go this way. So they'll get pretty deep into here if I let them raid. Unless I use firearms and fight them, in which case I can push them back with some successful combat. So, if I ambush, rather. If I ambush successfully. but I'd want to ambush from further away so they get more out, and then I can push them all away. Because if I avoid the raid now, it's just going to come up next turn again. But if I raid myself, I can add more cubes here. Unless I draw red, and the odds are I'm going to draw red. There are only a few more cubes in here. Sure, yes. I usually do check the major event. I eyeball it. I saw the last turn that it wasn't a big thing. This one is Shaman. If I do planning, then I can look at this and rearrange. So yes, based on this major event, I will do planning again. I'm just sorry. I'm just trying to kind of think about like, well, should I do actions? Well, it's going to, based on this, how much AP will they get? But yes, if I do planning, it is going to be, or rather, based on this event benefits me if I do the planning action. So I will do that. If I want to preempt them, they can raid, and then I would do my planning action. Though if they raid, they can drop missions down, which are going to be these. And those I want to get rid of because that gives them more victory points later. True, Carlo. Yes, if I plan, I should preempt. I can get AP to slow them down and gain the trade goods to reroll ambush eventually. It's true, yeah. Well, I think I want to preempt anyway because it's going to slow them down regardless, because they won't raid this turn, so it's going to slow them down a lot. So I will opt to preempt. I'm going to spend all 3 of my APs. I'm going to get them back because I'm going to plan. And so now it's my turn. I'm going to plan. Again, in the planning phase, first thing we do is add a population counter. In this case, it's a man based on what this card says. It's going to go into passage of time. And then I will get an AP for every elder that I have on this track, and they all move forward. And then I will go ahead and do some actions. Oh, and I get my 3 APs. So hey Bradley, thanks for joining. I need to get to Comancheria at some point. I've been enjoying this right now. I've been enjoying Navajo Wars. So I'm going to kind of probably play through most of these scenarios before I jump into Comancheria. Let's see. So I got my APs. I moved my elders. Now I'm going to do some actions. I can't control that. I could try to lower my ferocity again and get ready to evade when the raid comes, because the raid is going to be coming next turn, almost certainly. You're right, it is an elder. There's a bit of a glare at the angle I'm sitting at here, so thank you for that. Thank you for catching that. I will go ahead and I could try to get some more APs. I can lower ferocity. Why don't we try to collect some more AP so I can pick up these a little more freely and still have some left over for preempting later. So I'm going to go ahead and try to collect an AP with this guy. I need a 1 or a 2. I got a 4, so it did not succeed. I'm going to try to get another AP with this guy. And my reasoning, that's a 4 again, so it does not succeed. The reason I'm thinking AP is because I'm going to spend 2 of them to collect this, to collect these trade goods, and that's going to leave me with 1, and I'd like to be able to sit on 3 AP, but at least 2 in order to preempt later. Yes, they do. I am aware that they get extra raid counters. That's why this raid is 3, so they're going to spend 3 AP on it, and then they're going to get 2 more raid counters because of that. But again, I'd like to be able to preempt, I think. Though, all right, on this 1 to 3, Carlo, I'm gonna continue to take your advice. I think you're gonna steer me properly. So I will attempt to lower ferocity here. Do 2 AP checks and then a ferocity. Because this guy is a little older, a little wiser, I succeed on a 1, 2, or 3 with him. So 1 to 3, and I got a 6. So no successes all around. Didn't really matter what I chose; they all would fail. And then I can go ahead and pick up some more trade goods. I will spend my two of my 3 APs to pick up both these trade goods because there is a raid coming. And I will go ahead and I'm not going to do tribal warfare or diplomacy. Actually, I also realized I actually forgot to spend my tribal diplomacy check from last round, so that AP should be 0 now. So let's go ahead to the enemy's turn. It is now the enemy's turn. I've done all my planning, and they are now going to draw some tokens. Because I preempted, they will get 4, plus 1 is 5, minus 3 is only 2, so they will collect 2 AP. And their next action, which actually, again, got to roll. I said I wasn't going to forget, and I immediately forgot. A 6 and a 3. So 6 will flip over, and a 3 will flip over. So because I didn't roll doubles this time on these, I got a 6 and a 3. I check this line, top being 1, bottom being 6, and I flip the counter over to its other side in that row, unless it has a red stripe, in which case it stays as is. Doubles switches the rows, and non-doubles flips the counter over. All right, so we flipped those over. We flipped build to colonize, and we flipped subvert to raid. And now they're going to do their stuff. So raid costs 3. They only have 2, so they will not take a raid action this turn. They can't afford it. In fact, they can't afford anything this turn. So that's all they're going to do. They can't afford it. You move to the end of their action, and that's it. So they are going to stand still. However, they did collect these AP, so again, they're building up a force. They'll be doing stuff later. Next turn, certainly. So let's flip this over, and another operations card. I think in total, this deck and the ones out of the game have a total of, I think, 12 ceremony cards, and the rest are all operations. So the vast majority of cards you'll draw should be operations. I'm sure we'll get to a ceremony, though, before long. So this I can preempt for 2 AP, but I don't even have any, so I'm not going to be able to. And the major event is Hostile Tribes. Instruction counters on enemy instruction display with a star flip to the front side with a capital letter, which they already are. Then, if on the active column, swap places with the column above it if possible. Next, if on the standby column, swap places with a counter occupying the same row of the active column. So this tribal counter that I moved over before and did some diplomacy with, they're going to be hostile towards me and flip over to the active track. You're right, I forgot the events. Thank you. The events are, if planning's executed, let me undo that real quick. Carlo, I'm glad I have you here to back me up. Whenever you're doing stuff on stream, I think I've mentioned this before, but when you're running stuff on a stream, especially I've found based on my PAX Premier play last time, a couple weeks ago, when you're running stuff solo, it becomes very easy to forget to do stuff, like to forget to do little things. It's something I'm kind of trying to get better at in general with running solo streams, especially. When you're trying to like talk your way through things, sometimes it can be easy to miss, right? So Carlo, I appreciate you keeping me honest, because that's going to benefit me anyway. So thank you for pointing those things out for me. You're a real help. Anyway, so I did planning before. We're rewinding here. I did planning before. I look at the next 3 cards of the deck, which would have been this one, and this one. And then I can reorder them as I choose. Look at the next 3 cards in the deck, which are going to be, hey, look, it's an operations card that we already saw, and then it's the Pueblo Revolt. The Pueblo Revolt is that first event that I talked about. When this comes up, we're going to do a victory check in addition to some other things. It's going to dictate what they do over here. It kind of ignores this for a period of time. And it is going to potentially like I said, do a victory check to adjust this. And then the next card is going to be a ceremony card. And the ceremony card is very easy to resolve. Essentially, I'm going to, when there's nothing, the first one I do, I'm just going to take into my hand, basically. Get rid of or take into my hand, and that's kind of it. However, as I collect these, they give me bonuses, right? They give me population counters in my passage of time, and they also allow me to, instead of rolling a die for some stuff, they instead allow me to like just dictate what the result is. And there's a little die in the bottom here that will say what it is. However, while I have these in my hand, as more come up, bad stuff happens. So in this instance, if I had this card in my hand and another ceremony card came up, there's a thing called the enemy way. And when an enemy way is activated, it is activated on all of the ceremony cards in your hand. And so this one would return my planted corn to the draw cup, and that's it. So the action I spent planting this to feed my family later is just going to be thrown away. That one's maybe not super bad depending on the situation. Sometimes it's a lot worse. It's like, get rid of family members or do other things. And so collecting these is good, but they're sort of like ticking time bombs. Anyway, so these are the 3 cards. Now, I know that there is this raid coming up, right? The enemy's gonna have enough AP to do it because they're gonna collect at least 1, and they have 2 already. The enemy raid is going to have them putting out counters onto the map from Santa Fe. And as they go around, they will fight my family, they'll destroy my crops, they'll do a bunch of bad stuff, they'll build little outposts, which I hate these outposts because they're going to give them extra morale and extra points later in the game. They're no good. And so I don't really want that enemy raid to happen, and if it does, I want to be able to subvert it, right? I want to be able to attack them or evade them or do something to stop it from being that effective. So I know that's coming next turn. So if this operation card is up next, it's going to happen next. The raid is. Pueblo Revolt, I already talked about ceremony cards. Pueblo Revolt is the event. And the event is going to be a pretty big deal, especially right now, because the enemy has like nothing on the board. They haven't really done much. And so as it stands, I am going to do a few things, but it's mostly changing what the enemy does in the future. It doesn't do a ton right now. It'll reset a bunch of these, but it'll mostly dictate what the enemy does, which will include not raiding, because the enemy's going to they decide there's a Pueblo Revolt, they decide they need to subjugate New Mexico, and all they're going to do is do the subjugate action. And they're going to draw cubes from here and load up. And they're going to do that until they get 3 red cubes in here, and then this card goes away. So this is going to occupy them for a bit. This is a good opportunity for me to get through this deck and maybe get to the next event card and win the game, okay? And then finally, what I'm going to do is the VP check, which I mentioned earlier. This is an 8 VP check. It says on the bottom, it's an 8 VP check, or it is a good medicine. And good medicine is a thing I can do if I am not going to end up in a favorable position based on the VP check. I would say like, oh, I'm in a bad spot right now. I don't want to do this VP check. So I can get rid of a black cube, which again, black cubes help me. I can take a black cube out of here. There's a flow chart on where you take the cube from. In the first scenario, it's the raid pool, so I would take it from here, and I would put it over here. Okay, I put it in the subjugation of New Mexico box, which is the only way, as far as I know, the only way black cubes can end up here. And that's going to benefit the enemy at the end of the game too. So good medicine is bad. It takes cubes I want to draw out of the bag, it puts them in a spot I don't want them to be, but it allows me to evade the victory check. In this instance, I don't want to evade the victory check. The victory check is going to help me because I have a ton of points right now. And a victory check, let me just make sure I'm saying this all correctly, but effectively it is going to see how see essentially how my culture is doing right now, how my society is doing. It's more of a victory check. It is more of a like census report in some way. It's like I'm auditing the state of my tribe. So, all right. First thing I'm going to do on a victory check is, you know what? I'll go through that when I actually do it because it's going to come up in a sec. But, all right. So those are my 3 options right now, and I'm going to order these however I want to come out. Carlo, that's a very kind thing of you to say. That's very kind of you to say that you're I'm one of your favorite YouTubers. I appreciate that a lot. Thanks, man. And you're also giving me probably again. I'm trusting you that you're giving me good advice. And I say I'm trusting you. I say that with some confidence because that is the order I would take these into. I would also do the ceremony first because there's no other ceremony cards out yet. And so it's not going to harm me, right? It's only going to give me a benefit right now. And I know the next two cards are not ceremony cards, which means I'm not going to have to do an enemy way check in the meantime. And maybe by the time I get to that third one, I will have expended this for a roll of 4, because a roll of 4 is pretty good. So I can probably take this ceremony card and use it before it's going to come back to bite me. So I'm going to put the operations card at the bottom. So I know it's going to be 2 drawn cards until they do that raid. All right. And actually, they won't, based on the fact that I'm putting this out, they won't even do the raid. And then I'm going to put the event card in, and then I'm going to put the ceremony card. Now that that's done, the major event is done, I'm going to do the minor event, which this time is roll to see which instructions swap place. I'm going to roll 1 die. I'm going to roll the blue one. Carlo, I've made my choice. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with the first one. And I got a 3. So this 3 is going to have colonize and raid swap places. So now that that is done, now that the minor event is done, discard again, nothing to really discard right now. And we're going to move ahead with, I wonder what could be next. Hey, it's a ceremony card. So when drawn, I'm going to do the following steps. Conduct an enemy way effect on all ceremony cards in my hand. I don't have any. Discard this card, or do step 3, which is add a man population to the passage of time box and add this card to my hand. I'm going to put it up here. Let's do it over here. So this isn't really necessarily where my hand would be. Your hand is like in your hand or down here. Again, for the purpose of the stream, I'm going to put stuff that I have up here. So I have that up here now, and I'll be able to expend it for a 4 value roll in the future. And that's it for that card. It's very straightforward. It is, it's the ceremony cards are very simple to handle. You don't do operations, so you don't do all the map stuff or planning stuff. And yeah, then you go back and you draw the next card. And hey, wouldn't you know, it's the Pueblo Revolt. Oh, I also need to reset all these. I forgot to reset these cubes, which is going to be, this stays, these, it's not all of them. I grabbed them all in excitement. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I got ahead of myself. This is correct for this card. For the ceremony card, you reset cubes. I didn't mention resetting cubes. Essentially, resetting cubes is going to be, you take the cubes in recovery and you stick them back in the bag. You take the cubes from raided cubes and put them into recovery. Subjugation of New Mexico stays. So when you reset cubes, it makes it easier for the enemy to do stuff, but it puts stuff back in the bag for you to draw out, hopefully in your benefit. That is resetting cubes. Then I drew Pueblo Revolt. First thing is return all cubes in recovery, raided cubes, and subjugation of New Mexico into here. So I kind of mixed those two together, but to be clear, resetting cubes is not taking everything. It is taking recovery, shifting raided. Anyway, so Pueblo Revolt, return all the cubes back to the raid pool, which is the bag. Then put this card face up on the edge of the map, which I'll do in a second. While in play, the following persistent effects apply. Only steps 2 and 4 of the enemy operations segment is executed while in play. The step 2 is giving them AP, and step 4 is executing stuff. Also, during step 2, they gain an additional AP. So if the next card said they get 4, they'll actually get 5. During step 4, all enemy APs in the enemy AP available box must be spent to execute Subjugate. You ignore all enemy instruction counters while this is in play. So Subjugate again is drawing cubes out of here and putting them either in Subjugation of New Mexico or Recovery. The idea is they are really, really trying to subjugate New Mexico right now. So that is all they care about. There's been a revolt and they are gonna subjugate New Mexico. They're gonna bend it to its will. And you do not reset these cubes while this is in play. So anything that's gonna tell me reset cubes, I will ignore. And then we'll do a VP check. So again, it's an 8 VP check. in order to do that, and again, I'm gonna take a look right now, the victory check procedure. The first thing I do is subtract the value of the card, which is 8 VP, from the total VP of all territories with one or more families in them. And the result, if positive, gains me 1 military. However, I am at 7 already, which is the highest it can go in this check. So it will not go up for me in this instance, but that's okay because it's not going to go down, which is worse. If that total, that 8 minus whatever, or whatever minus 8, is negative, I would lose military points, which is obviously bad. So in this case, it's 8 for this on the card. And then for VP, I have 3 in San Juan Valley because I have a family here, 4 from Shiprock because I have a family here, that's 7, and 2 in Monument Valley for a total of 9. So 8 minus 9 is 1. Or the other way around, 9 minus 8 is 1. And so I am at positive. Because I'm at my limit for military in this phase, I don't gain, but more importantly, I don't lose. Then you subtract enemy morale from military points. The enemy is 5 morale. I have 7 military. That's going to knock me all the way down to 2. That seems bad, except you then lower enemy morale to 0. So I still have a bit of a bonus here. If at this point I'm at 0 military, 0 culture, I lose. It's a major defeat. It's the worst things can be. That's not the case, so we're going to move on. And this is a step-by-step I'm reading. So then increase military by the number of man counters in play that do not belong to a family in the same territory as a fort. There are no forts in this scenario, so I'm not worried. So now I am going to increase by 3 because I have 3 man counters in play. In play, meaning in my family boxes, not out of play and not in the passage of time. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 points. This is the one. It's okay. It's the second part. I've been playing wrong in the past then. So thank you for that heads up, Carlo. So yeah, because it says here in the 7 box, maximum military points during victory check segment. So I've always just applied that to the gain I would have picked up here. So I guess if I go up to 8, I would have gone up to 8 earlier on that check, then down and then up. So I should actually be, instead of here, 1, 2, 3, I should be at 6 now. It does actually mention here too, in this step. During this step, enemy morale may not be increased above military points. Well, yeah, right here, yes. For each box, it cannot be increased above 7 during this step. So, yes, so it stays here. This line here has always thrown me off. So I'm back up to here because I was here and I went down the equal to that, which was 5. So 7 to 5 is 2, and then 1, 2, 3. But that actual plus 1. Okay, yes, I'm at 6. We're good. And then increase the for each box the military. I got mixed up here. For each box the military goes up from here. Enemy morale also goes up. So I went from 2. I went 1, 2, 3. I went 3 spots up. So this is going to go 1, 2, 3. And then enemy, they get +1 morale for every outpost they have in play, which are these. These are out of play though. When they raid, there's a good chance they add outposts. When they do the build action, they add outposts. So right now they have none, so they will not get any enemy morale, which is great. Then increase my culture points by the number of women counters in play, which do not belong to a family in the same territory as a fort. Cannot go above 9. I have 3 women in play, so my culture is going to go up to there. And then I lose culture for forts that are in play. Again, no forts in this scenario. Unless I'm resolving card 45 or 50, I may spend culture or military to buy cultural development cards. This is where I could buy these cards. So I can spend, most of these cost 1 point. If I wanted to upgrade my Wisdom of the Ancient Ones to level 2, it would cost me 2 culture points. Let's see. I could take a look at what they do here. Let me go through the rest. I feel like I'm not going to because I think I still want to use culture to boost my military more than anything. Though Wisdom of the Ancient Ones level 2 is actually pretty decent. It makes it so doing elder actions in planning is easier. Instead of these guys needing to roll a 1 to 2, 1 to 2, and 1 to 3, they would need to roll effectively a 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 4. So that's pretty good. It would cost me 2 culture points though. And I am pretty high up right now. I could also pick up... So I guess it's just going over what these do real fast. Masters of the Mesas lets me plant corn or harvest corn more cheaply. Horsemanship makes it so if my family has a horse, which I have a horse down here, I just haven't used it yet. Horsemanship allows me to move or to do more. It gives me an extra movement point when I take actions. Warrior Society costs a military point. Those first two cost culture points. This one costs a military point, which I'm very hesitant to spend. If I have 1 or more culture points for battle purposes, every family is considered to have a ferocity of +1 in addition to its existing ferocity. So it makes them better at fighting, but it costs me military, and I don't really want to spend military on anything. Weaving costs culture, and it lets me add, so I only have access to 3 trade goods, but there are more in the game, and weaving brings them from out of the game into the game. And then, again, Wisdom of the Ancient Ones. I have this one already, but I can upgrade it to a level 2, which is, it's not bad. But let's see, Carlo, the man by my side here, says Horsemanship or Masters of the Mesa. I was considering Masters of the Mesa for planting corn, because if I have to start taking a passage of time, which I'm going to, I'm going to need food. And so that's going to benefit a bit. It makes it cheaper to plant and harvest corn. Or horsemanship lets me move, or lets me just do more stuff in general, which is actually, horsemanship is more specialized because I have to give a horse to someone, which means only one person benefits, but it gives a little more versatility to that person. I am going to need to start worrying about food. So I am going to pick up Masters of the Mesa. I'm going to pick up Masters of the Mesa for 1 culture point. I'll set that there. So there's a glare like in the middle here, so I'm trying to, the place where I had to set a light was not ideal right now. Masters of the Mesa level 2 is one of the strongest cards. If a player has 2 or more culture, the 2 harass counters set aside at the start of the game are put in the out-of-play box. Yeah, harassing is good. Harassing is strong. Harassing is it's a counter here that comes into play when you get raided. You're able to stick harass counters down, and it doubles the amount of counters the enemy puts there, which instinctively sounds bad, like they're putting more counters into a spot, but it's actually good, because they stop raiding when they're out of counters, and more counters in an area doesn't matter. And so you want them to put those down fast. You want them to put their raid tokens down quicker. And so by harassing them, you're slowing them down. So yeah, Masters of the Mesa 2 is pretty good. But I also won't be able to pick it up, right? Because I only get to buy 1 of these cards right now. And the next event ends the game. So I won't actually be able to benefit from that. But it is true, Masters of the Mesa level 2 is strong. So this one, I think I'll benefit from level 1 though, because I have corn out here. I'll have to harvest it, or it gets harvested at some point. But anyway, all right, so continuing on the victory track, I just bought a cultural development card. I now set my AP to 0, done, and return all cubes and raided cubes in recovery to the raid pool. They're already there because of the event. And now I remove half of the population rounding up, put them back into out of play. Which I see, Carl, this is what you were talking about before with the ceremony card. I should have waited to take it so I wouldn't lose a token. But I figure I already chose it, and so we're just gonna move on. And so I'm gonna remove half of these. There's 3 of them, but I round up, so I'll remove 2 of my 3. I have a child, an elder, and a man. starting another family is going to be necessary, I think. And so I'm going to need an adult for that. I'll be able to upgrade this child to an adult, though, during... So I think I want to keep the man, because I think I want to start getting... I think I want to get a new family out soon. And let's do... I'm kind of thinking of getting rid of the child and the elder. I have these 3 elders out. They're gonna, age, and they may die, so maybe I do want to get this extra elder and try to collect these 2 again. Tough choices. Carlo, what do you think here? I'm gonna lean on you for this one. So my thought process right now, is if I get rid of my elder, these elders are going to be aging, and I want to do a passage of time soon. Yeah, I can exchange a child for anything. That is true. But when I do passage of time to exchange them, do I age the child and then they go back in the passage of time box, and then I need to take another passage of time, right, in order to actually get the child into play? Because or do I age the child first? Maybe I think I do age the child first. So, okay, yeah, I'll get rid of those then. For some reason, I had it in my head right now that you move stuff and then age the child, so that it takes like 2 turns to get the child out. But you're right. I don't know why I was thinking that. So, yeah, I'll get rid of these 2. Okay, so keep the child and get rid of the man and the elder. We then end the victory check segment and continue on. So that is the victory check procedure. We're going to do that one more time in this game when the next event comes out, and that will then end the game, because this is the short scenario. So I'm just taking a look at the passage of time action here. Yeah, I don't know why, for some reason, it right now in my head I had it reversed. But yeah, any child can be converted to an adult or an elder, and then you move any child and adults to your family. So, great. Okay, sorry, I was just double checking something in here. All right, so continuing on. It's not frozen, perfect. Now we'll draw this next card. Now that that's finished, that remains in play. We draw the next card, which we know is an operations card. And I can preempt for 2 APs. I don't have any. Otherwise, the enemy collects 3 APs. So the enemy's going to pick up 3 APs. 2, 3. When are we going to see... Answer a question here. When are we going to see the next part of the Nate Hayden interview? Probably this... What's today? Thursday? Actually, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow or Saturday. It's whenever I can sit down to... I'm not cutting them very much. They're mostly unedited, but I'm making sure I'm trying to balance levels a little better and kind of make sure I'm keeping the game sort of segmented a little bit. And so I should be finishing that tomorrow. So my sort of loose idea is that by the end of next week, all the parts will be up, and I think it's going to be 4 parts. So I think tomorrow or Saturday you'll see the next part, and then the other ones will be like the beginning and middle of next week. Yeah, I'm glad that I'm glad you're enjoying them. And as far as suggestions for means to buy non-print and play copies of Nate Hayden stuff without losing an arm and a leg, I've been very fortunate as far as his physical print games. I got a steal for Cave Evil. I got it in an auction on Board Game Geek. And I picked up Cave Evil and War Cults for like $130 shipped to my door, which I understand is like, I'm not saying to wait for that deal again because I don't know that that'll come up. So I guess my answer is get lucky, I guess is the best way. I did talk with Nate a little bit about Cave Evil and reprinting it, which he talks about in the next interview segment that I'm putting out. But he wants to reprint it soon, actually. Despite saying for so long that it's not something that they would do. Cave Evil is on the docket for a reprint, but he doesn't know when. Unfortunately, this COVID-19 sort of stuff threw a wrench in that. But we talk about it a bit in the next interview segment, so look for that. There's a little more detail in there. But the War Cults you can pick up new right now from him. I think it's like $100, or I see it in the aftermarket for like 70-ish sometimes, like 60 to 80 maybe. And then a Cave Evil reprint's coming, so just be patient, I guess is what I would say for Cave Evil. As far as the other games, we talk about those more in the interview too. I was certainly curious to, and we'll get back to Navajo Wars in one sec, I'm just answering this question. It sounds like he wants to reprint a bunch of his stuff at some point, so I would say just be patient on a lot of it. It's unfortunately he's kind of time limited more than anything, I think, and so reprints are coming along, but they're just kind of slow going. But yeah. Thank you for the compliments too. I'm always happy to hear people enjoy the work that I'm doing. And thank you for spreading around the interview too. Like I said, the next parts will be up soon. And I think the first chunk that's about like we're just kind of chatting for a bit and then talking about San Quentin Kings and After Pablo. I think those two are probably like the maybe least known or least played games of his. And I think that like there's maybe more interest in like the Cave Evil stuff and the horror game magazine stuff. So those are in future parts of the interview. So I guess just keep an eye out, keep listening. Anyway, back to the game. And yes, it was a hell of a deal. It was it took jumping through some hoops to get it, but I won the auction and I couldn't believe it. And they showed up and it was great. I've enjoyed them both. Okay, so let's continue on. So we flipped over this card. I cannot preempt, and so they have. They got their 3 AP, and they get an additional 1. So they should be at, because they were at 2 from last round, they pick up 3 for this card, and then an additional 1 because Pueblo Revolt is in play. And they're going to spend these all, because of this card, on subjugating New Mexico, which means they are going to spend 6 AP to draw 6 cubes out of here. And if they get 3 red ones, not 3 red ones right now, they need 3 red ones in this box total, then this card is removed. So let's see what they're going to get. They're going to get a red cube, a brown cube, a yellow cube, a white cube. A lot of diversity here. A black cube. Apparently every cube is being drawn. I think blue and green are the only ones, and they might not even be in this scenario. Another white cube. That's 6. So we're going to put these 4 into recovery, plus that fifth one, and that one goes into subjugation of New Mexico. So not bad. I was worried they were going to pull all 3 out right away and get this card out of the game. Really, my ideal situation is this card sticks around for a bit, and I can pull the other event in a couple of cards, because I want to get more families out. So before they get more stuff out here. So that got drawn. Pueblo Revolt is hopefully going to be a boon to me. And then I get to do stuff. The only action I haven't done yet is the creating new families. And I would like to do that soon. What is making me hesitate right now, I was considering it, but I'm only going to be able to put one family member into that new family. And the issue there is going to be that I lose points for making a new family if there are empty family slots and empty population slots, and that's not cool. That's not ideal. And so I might want to try to get more dudes out here. There's a man on here, and so if I take a planning action again, that will allow me to put another adult here, and I could then create a more robust family, which would be great. So I think I might plan for one more turn before I go ahead and because this is going to get rid of corn. Okay. I'm thinking I might want to plan to get another adult here, and that way I'll lose one culture point instead of two. Yeah. Yeah, I know the next victory check has 2 build actions, so they're going to stick 2 of these out, which is going to increase their morale. And I need more VP for families. So let's do a plan and hope for the best. So I'm going to have to put a man in here, like I said, doing a planning action this turn. And I'll boost these guys up one more spot. They're getting close to death. We'll see. And that gives me 3 AP. Sure, yeah, I could just toss the ceremony card. That is true. And considering Pueblo Revolt is out, I maybe don't have to worry about a raid quite yet. All right, then continuing this then, I will do some elder actions, and I'm gonna, let's say, boost military and lower culture, attempt to do that again, or not even attempt, I'll do it, thanks to my Wisdom of the Ancient Ones. And then I could, let's get some more AP. Because I guess I could reduce ferocity too on this guy. I've still been kind of on the fence about that. I'm worried they're still going to raid. There's still a lot of cards in here. So I'm still a little worried about the raid. It's going to add more raid threat if his ferocity is high. I have a bunch of trade too, so let's adjust ferocity. So that succeeded. Let's adjust ferocity on this one. I need a 1, 2, or 3. I got 3. So that's going to lower this to 1, 1 instead of 0, 2. And then I am going to, yes, lower ferocity. I'm going to try to do it one more time. And this guy will almost certainly succeed. As long as I don't get, AP for diplomacy, sure. All right, well, yeah, let's do that. This is turning into a nice cooperative game here, Carlo. So lower ferocity and AP for diplomacy, you say? So do you think I should lower ferocity twice, or do you think I should try to get an AP and then use that for diplomacy so I still have 3 APs for preempting and other things? I'm kind of thinking that, because I'm probably going to succeed on this. So maybe I try to get an AP and then I do a diplomacy over here on this fella. So let's go ahead with, let's try that. So 1, 1, a 1, 1's okay over here. Gives me a little flexibility if I have to battle or something. So let's go ahead and boost AP. You're like an angel and a devil on my shoulder here, Kyle. Hopefully angel, whispering in my ear, but I very much appreciate it. When I play solo games, this is also sort of how if I have people around, I feel like I like to pull people around me. My wife usually when she's sitting around. All right, so it's for an AP and it succeeded. All right. let's then do, some tribal diplomacy. We actually can't do a tribal diplomacy because there's no tribe in the active slot. He's in the standby slot right now, and the Comanche are one of the two I removed. Before you set up, you remove a couple of these counters at random, and that's the one I removed. So there is no Comanche available right now, and the other one, the Utes, are not here. They're on standby. And tribal diplomacy demands that I target something in the active column. So no tribal diplomacy this round. But that's okay. I picked this up. And so I will be moving forward then. That would be my turn. I've done all my stuff. My elders are getting older. Maybe that's why you call them elders. And now we're going to go into the major event segment, which is hostile tribes. So this hostile tribes will be flipping this around. It didn't, because it did not move before. That was when I forgot to do the previous event, which let me rearrange these. I understand the confusion there, but it was when I had forgotten that I could rearrange those cards. The one I drew before having to undo stuff was the one that moved them. This one moves them, the one I just drew. So this guy, let's see, we roll a die, right? Flip to the star side, yes, and then roll. If on an active column, swap places with the counter above it if possible. If on standby, swap places with the counter occupying the same row of the active column. No dice. Rolls over, replaces subjugate. Okay, now it is in the active column. So now, next time if I do another planning, which I might not, I think now that I have more of a family here, I might not plan again. I might just take the culture hit to send a family out that is lacking in an adult, but we'll see. Next is a minor event, which is roll to see which territory suffers drought. And it is territory number 1. 111 Shipwreck. Don't know why I couldn't find it. Shipwreck's got 2 drought in it now. And then discard phase. Nothing to discard, nothing to deal with. So let's go ahead and move on. Next card out is an operations card. So it's the event is going to be Apache Raid New Mexico. Draw 1 cube from the raid pool, and it either goes back into the pool. If it's red, it goes here, and most likely it goes into the raided cubes box. But I get no resources for it. So it's a raid draw that doesn't benefit me, basically. Not too bad. It's not ideal, but I mean the odds are, how many are in here right now? The odds are, I think it's a pretty good chance it's going to be red, which is not great. It's basically a freebie to help him out if it's a red. So anyway, I can preempt for 3, which I have. He only gets 2 APs if I preempt. Otherwise, he'll get 4. Excuse me. So he'll get 3 APs total because of this, or 5 AP total. And I'm kind of thinking I should preempt here because the 3 APs gives me a fighting chance that he doesn't pull more cubes out, and this event is going to pull a cube out. And I want this to stick around for a moment so he's sort of occupied. So actually he's going to get an extra AP because of this anyway. I think I'm going to preempt for 3. I think I'm going to preempt him for 3. So he gets fewer APs. And then thus pulls 2 fewer of these. So I'll preempt for 3. And then it'll be my turn. Preempt and plan. Yeah, that's what I was leaning towards. It was preempt and plan or preempt and passage of time. But the culture hit might hurt. I've played a couple times. I've played this. This has popped up. The second event has come up in this scenario super fast. I don't think actually. How many cards have come out total right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So actually, it can't come up for at least 3 more draws. So yes, planning. This is a good opportunity to plan and make a more robust set to put out. So we're going to do a planning action. Planning is certainly the most common in my experience of playing this. So let's get a woman. Based on that card, it's going to put a woman in the passage of time. And then we're going to advance these guys to just about the end of their life. Now, they don't automatically die here. They will die potentially in a passage of time. You have to roll for it. The older they are, the easier they are to pass on. And so I collect my 3 APs again, right back to there. And now we're going to do some actions. So I can do diplomacy now, and I have these 4, so I have quite a bit of AP. Let's maybe do minus ferocity and then collect a couple of AP. I think that might be my game here. That's basically all I can do anyway. 1 ferocity, and then my only real option is AP because these are tied. So let's do, it's 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5. Let's do an AP. Let's do an AP first. I want to get ferocity. So let's do an AP roll. So on a successful roll on a 1, 2, or 3. It's a 6, does not succeed. This guy succeeds on a 1, 2, 3, or 4. So let's go for an AP on him. Got, ooh, another 6. It's no good. And finally, let's try, I'm at 4 AP. I kind of want to be at 5 AP, if only because that could potentially let me preempt twice, depending on the card that comes up. Otherwise, I'm stuck with preempting once. Now let's do minus ferocity. Let's do minus ferocity. 1 to 5. So anything but a 6, and I got a 4. Cool. So that resets his ferocity to 0. Exchange the trade goods for sheep and then buy them again. Sure, yeah, it's true. I could just spend the AP for that, but right, because I'm going to need to feed my family. I don't know what this corn is, and these sheep will feed 4. I need to feed. So when it comes to feeding the family, which I'm going to need to do in the passage of time, I need to feed. I need enough food for each of my family members in play, and so there are 3, 6, 9. Each territory they're in will provide 3, but I also can lose or require more based on the arability of the region, and that's going to be based on drought counters. So this is actually only going to feed 1, this will feed 3, and this will feed 2. So that would be, what, 3, 4, 5, 6 in total. My sheep adds another 4. So that would be 10. But that's going to be after I adjust my population. So yeah, all right. Yeah, that's a good call. Getting rid of my trade goods for sheep now. Because yeah, passage of time is coming up. And so I can exchange my trade goods that I have, my 3 that I've been sitting on. I can exchange them for any 1 animal. And so I'm going to exchange all 3 of these trade goods right now. I can do that at any time for a sheep. And then, yes, Carlo, you can exchange trade goods, yeah, for sheep at any time. You can feed anything during the passage of time, so I can. You also have to feed the elders, true, yes, prior to the death check. So yes, I need a lot of food. So I'm going to need in total 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I'll need 15 food. And I'm going to be getting 6 from here, which means I will need another 9. I have 8 from these sheep, and then I will be pulling that corn counter before I feed people. I can harvest the corn counter. I could also, I mean, yeah, I could just buy these trade goods back. So yeah, I'll do that. I'll purchase the trade goods back for these AP right now. So exchanging my 3 trade goods for 3 AP, again, just a little back and forth action. And I could do tribal diplomacy now also. I do have 1 AP left over, and they are in the active column. So I could perform tribal diplomacy, which could lead me to swapping them away again, kind of making them avoid having to encounter them, which has a fair chance of happening because this, I think, is going to go away pretty soon. So let me spend my last AP. Because they'll breed. And yeah, let me spend my last AP to perform tribal diplomacy over here. So again, tribal diplomacy is going to be, I can spend trade goods to increase my roll, and it's based on my evasion. So I could add +2 right now with this roll. And that means I need a total of 6. So it would be what I roll +2. It needs to be a 6 or greater. And so for this case, I'd have to roll a 4 or higher right now. I couldn't find the 4 side. So a 4 or higher. If I spend some of my trade goods, I can hang on to these to get more sheep if I wanted, to feed my family. But because they breed, animals breed in the passage of time, I probably don't need them. And so I think I will spend, if I spend all 3, I almost can't fail. I have the ceremony. I see Carl saying, tribal diplomacy, 3 trade goods. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Sorry, you have the ceremony, you don't need the trade goods. Right, true, because I can use this at any time in my player operations segment. So yes, I'm going to keep the trade goods, and this is where I can spend my ceremony card. Again, like I said before, I can spend the ceremony card in place of rolling a die during my turn. And so it's a different result for the different cards, for different ceremony cards. This one gives me a 4, which means I can just exchange it immediately for a result of 4, which is what I need to succeed in this tribal diplomacy. Also, getting rid of this now means it's not going to come back to bite me being in my hand. So I'm going to spend this. I will just discard it to here. And let me put it underneath so I can still see the event here. And that'll be it. No need to roll a die. I succeed in my tribal diplomacy. And that guy is going to swap with the number 3. So colonize, switches spots. All right. And also, putting this stuff up here also makes it easy to forget my hand on stream. Again, I'm used to it like being in front of me. So I'm glad I have people watching my back. All right, so that was my planning phase. I did my diplomacy, I did everything. It is now time for them to take their action because I preempted. So in this case, the enemy collects 2 APs if I preempt. So they pick up 1 and 2. They get +1 for that being in there. They get +1 because of the Pueblo Revolt, which gives them 4 APs to spend down here. Because of this card, they're going to spend it once again on subjugation. So they're going to spend all 4, drawing out 4 cubes. They get a brown cube. They get a green cube. How many cubes are in here right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are in here. And they get a red cube. Oh, and 1 more. I don't know why I only draw 3. Why did I do that? I can clearly see that there are 4 APs here, and they get a red cube. Okay, so they got all the red cubes they needed. 3 go into the subjugation of New Mexico. These go into recovery. So once they have 3, there's a little subjugation of New Mexico reference. There it is, right here. At 1 and 2, they only add to the amount of AP they collect, but when they get to 3, if it's in play, remove the Pueblo Revolt from the game. It's gone. Then, flip over Spanish enemy instruction counters A, B, and F if in play. Flip over A, B, and F. What did I remove? I removed A and L. So they would flip over B, which is down here, and they would flip over F, which is up here. And then, so they show the raid side, which they now do. Then reset cubes. So all the recovery goes back into the bag. If there was anything in raided cubes, it would move into recovery. Enemy gets +1 morale, so they go from 3 to 4. And they get +3 enemy AP during their AP draw, which we already knew because an easy rule of thumb is they get +1 AP for every red cube up in there. So they have 3, they get +3. So now they are going back into business. They are going to be raiding and colonizing and raiding and subverting and raiding and raiding. Those are the active orders right now, and they will be back down to business. So ideally, my dream right now is I'm able to do a passage of time to put someone out, and then I can get the last event card out, hopefully soon, before they can do too much bad guy stuff. And in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that card to come out, try to deal with their raids. So now we do the events. So major event segment, draw a cube from the raid pool. Depending on the color, it is going to go places. It's a white cube. If it's white, it goes to raided cubes, and I do not collect any resources due to a raid draw. So that's actually probably the best case scenario for me right now, and that's what I got. Then do a minor event segment. Roll to see which territory suffers drought. That's been the story of this game so far, at least for minor events. Territory 3. 1, 2, 3. Drought down here in the Zuni Mountains. All right, and then discard phase, nothing to worry about. We'll draw up again. Operations. Preempt for 3 AP. I don't have 3 AP to do. So the event will be firearms acquired. I already have firearms. And enemy's going to get 4 AP. They're going to get a lot of AP this round. So it'll be 4 as a base. 3, 4. +3 due to subjugation of New Mexico. -1 because of this raid cube. So an additional +2. And now they will take their turn after I roll these dice. So that's a 2 and a 1. So this one flips to build, and raid flips to expand. Yeah, remember, next victory check is 10, so you need a territory total of 11 VP. Yes, I do. Right now I'm at 9, and so it'll be 11 if I pick up the Hopi land. So if I get that extra family out and can hold on to them, that's all right. And then I'm going to have to deal with whatever sort of outposts they put out. Right now, I'm pretty far ahead of them, though. My military is up to 7, and they are only at 4 morale. So if I can get that family out and not, lose too much during a raid, I think I'll be all right. We'll see, though, because now they are going to expand. They're actually going to do 2. They'll expand and build this turn. So time to expand with them. Their expand action, they're going to spend 3 AP to expand. That's what it says on the expand counter. And if there are no outposts on the map, treat it as a build instruction. So they're going to do 2 builds, basically. And as a build instruction, what they're going to do is place some of these outposts out. Actually, just 1 with a build instruction. So a build instruction, you will put it in the lowest die territory that doesn't already contain an outpost, and it'll be in area 1. So the lowest number that doesn't contain an outpost is Shiprock, and area 1 is right there. Then their next action is going to be another build action. And so that's the exact same order. So they take one of these, the lowest, they put it in the area number 1 of a territory with the lowest die roll symbol that does not contain an outpost. 1 is now taken, and so number 2 up in San Juan Valley up there. So I'm going to want to get rid of these. I'm going to want to take some actions, I think, and raid them and try to push them back. This one can get pushed back pretty easy. This one is probably also not too difficult to move on, but because what you have to do to get rid of the outposts. To get rid of outposts, you like push them back. You don't like just delete them. And so you need to I think you just push them out of. I gotta remember here. Carla, maybe while I'm looking it up, you can tell me. I know this will get pushed into Santa Fe and go away. Does this go away when it's pushed out of here, or do I have to push it all the way to Santa Fe? I forget exactly how pushing all the way out works. Let me look that up real fast. Let's see. Actions. Raid an outpost. Backwards on the area track towards number 1. Okay, so yeah, no, it doesn't have to go all the way out. It just has to go. So this would get removed from here. Yeah. Cool. Okay, I couldn't remember. So yes, this will just go away. If I push back, this will also just go away. If they're deeper in, when I was talking about pushing them back, let's say the outpost got all the way up to here. If I defeat it, it gets pushed this way. And then I defeat it again, it gets pushed to 2. If I defeat it again, it gets pushed to 1. And then if I defeat it at 1, it gets pushed out. And so it doesn't need to go back to New Mexico, it just needs to get to the 1 area of that territory. All right. So I think I am probably going to want to get rid of these. I want to get a family out, a new family out. And then, sorry, these go up. These all move. And those go like that. So I'm thinking I want to deal with those missions. I don't think I want to, I'm feeling like I don't want to do a passage of time first. So it's a tough choice because I still have, I think, a couple of cards at minimum before the next event can come out. So I think I will try to push back those outposts. Let's do that. Let's try to let's see. The problem with that for raiding them is you have to be in the same territory or one with a lower value, right? I know I'd have to move into their territory. I'm only 1 away, which is, so I don't have to move too far. And then to do that, I draw cubes out until I destroy it, basically, or I'm forced to fight in a battle. Sure, right, because they get more stuff. So it would cost me, if this guy wanted to move in, it would cost me 2 AP or 2 MP to move in there, 1 because of the territory and 1 because it's a mission. And then in order to successfully raid it, I'd be drawing out cubes. And it would cost me to do the raid. It cost me MP as well. Sorry, give me 1 second here. I'm looking up. So it's 2 hits to destroy it in area 1. That's what I was looking for. So it's 2 hits to destroy that mission if it's on area 1. Okay. So yeah, I think I will opt to take actions to try to get rid of these missions. And then maybe this guy, try to get rid of drought. Go all in on raiding so the AI just gets 1 AP next turn. Okay, yeah, that could be all right. Because the cubes I'm pulling out are going to go into there. All right, give me 1 second. I am very parched. I finished my water. I'm going to go grab a new glass real quick, and I'll be back in 10 seconds. Okay, I am back. Sorry for stepping away for a sec. My mouth is getting super, super dry. Another factor of these solo streams is I'm the only one ever talking. Okay, so I am going to go ahead then and take some actions here. So let's have family A, attempt to raid this mission. So they have 6 MPs, and they have to move into the territory. And then they need to take the raid outpost action. And in doing so, I'll be drawing cubes, and depending on the color of cube I get, I will either stop the raid or continue drawing until I successfully hit it. Again, the color matters. The color is what is going to dictate. It's what's going to dictate what happens. So it's going to cost me 1 to move into here, and then it's going to cost me another 1 because there's a mission. So it's 1 based on the value of the territory and 1 because there's an outpost. So that costs me 2 MP to do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my raid. And the cost of a raid is equal to the value of the territory. And so it's in the 1 territory, or the 1 area, I should say. So it's going to cost me another 1 MP to do that. And yes, just, hey, M. Alexander. There's only been one victory check. Yes, it's the shortest scenario. And so I think the soonest the next check could come up is 2 cards from now. And so on the back of this, there's, I've mentioned before, when you're doing raids on New Mexico, it's got this chart. Well, right across from it is raids on outposts. So checks that on there. Okay, and yes, to catch you up real quick, this is actually sort of the first enemy presence on the game. We've got 2 missions just came out, and I'm trying to push them back. I'm trying to get rid of them here with some raids. So I'm going to go on there and I'm going to do a raid. I'm going to draw a cube. And I drew a brown cube. On this chart, when I draw a brown cube, the outpost takes 1 hit. This goes into the raided cubes box. And if the outpost is destroyed, the raid ends. Otherwise, draw again. So a brown cube, brown, white, and yellow are sort of ideal here, other than black. Black will kill it straight away. But I've got to do 2 hits to it. So I've done 1. I'll actually put this next to it just to show that it's taken a hit. And then I'm going to draw again because I did not destroy it. And I got a green cube. A green cube is either +1 enemy ferocity and then fight a battle against the enemy, or +1 enemy morale. And then this goes back into the raid pool and my raid ends. So I don't really want to do a battle. If I can boost their morale by 1 here, I'm going to say stay 2 ahead. Which is okay. I just don't want their morale higher. And if I battling them can be a bit of a pain. It would boost their ferocity. And I just lowered this guy. He's basically in the worst position to battle right now because his ferocity is so low. And so if I battle him, I think I might just give him, I think I'm just gonna fly close to the sun and give him a morale. And then my raid ends. So that goes here. He's taken a hit. So actually I'll flip it upside down. He's taken a hit. So let's go ahead and raid again, because I think I need to kill this thing. So yeah, let's raid again, spend another MP, and hit him again. This goes back in here. So okay, second attempt at raiding this fella. It's a black cube. Well, that just does 2 hits straight away. A black hit, a cube will do 2 hits, put it in the raided cubes box. If it's destroyed, raid ends. So destroy the mission. It can't go further than 1, so it's gone. This guy still has 2 movement points left. And I'll have him take a step back. He'll just go hang out right here. Last 2 movement points spent moving back to where he was. I can use the trade goods. Sure, that's right. I forgot that I could use the trade goods for that. To boost that. To redraw, I should say. You know, I made my choice. I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to leave it as is for right now. But I'll keep that in mind here. So this guy's going to move. It costs him 2 as well. So from 6 to 4. And then he is going to battle, or raid, knocking down to 3. I'll see if I want to do a redraw on this if I need to. So, hey, a black cube straight away. That's 2 hits. Knocks him out. I figure he's going to get a couple build actions later, which is going to give him morale, but as long as I can stay within 2 here, I'm feeling kind of comfortable. And that was a lucky draw on this. So I successfully raided those 2, and then this guy, I'm going to have, I think, plant some corn. So let's have him. Oh, and the corn, because I left. You're right. The corn disappears. But we're going to get some more. So let's get under here and draw out a mystery corn counter. I appreciate, like, the corn has to come out as a secret, right? So from a cup, you got to feel like which side is the top, which is the bottom. And I'm always trying to make sure. I have to remember sometimes, is the blank corn one the top one, or is the numerical side the top one? I think I've got it, though. So the smooth side is what I got to bring out. Anyway, so he's going to plant some corn. Actually, he couldn't. That would cost him. Sorry, he can't actually do that. It's too expensive. He would need to move, but then he doesn't have enough MPs. So that's right, because I forgot that he's in 3 and not 2. Maybe then instead, I could have him try to do a long range raid, or perhaps I could have him maybe I'll just try to remove that drought. I can just try to kill the drought. Just do it. That would cost me all my MPs here. Or I guess I could. Let's have him move. Let's have him. Oh, you're right. Masters of the Mesa. Thank you. Thank you, Carlo. Masters of the Mesa allows me to reduce the cost of plant corn by 1. I don't know what I'd be doing without you here, buddy. You're keeping me in this game here. So corn. All right. So we got corn. We got rid of these. We are the masters of the Mesa, or Carlo is the master of the Mesa, but he's educating me well. And so why don't we? Those are all of our actions. The enemy did their stuff. And now let's go to the major event, which is firearms acquired. I already have firearms, and so I can't get another one. I don't have another one available. And then roll to see which suffers drought, which I swear is not the only minor action. There are more. Minor event, and it's 4. So Monument Valley has a lot of drought, has too much drought, in fact. No discarding needed, and let's draw up. New operations. Still don't have AP, so they will get 4 AP minus 1 this round. So they'll actually only get they'll only get 2 AP. Sorry, 3 AP. And the event is Trappers and Traders. Roll a die to determine the territory where an intruder counter is placed. And then see where in the area. So there are also this other cup of intruder counters. And some are good, some are bad. Some can be like, you get trade goods. Others are, bad stuff that like lowers your APs, like the Skinwalker. So this event is going to cause an intruder to show up somewhere. It won't do anything till I go check it out. So I'm probably gonna, I might go do that, we'll see. So yes, I don't have the AP to preempt, so he's gonna take his turn. And he gets 4, plus 3 is 7, minus 4 is 3. Let's roll some dice. It's a 5 and a 2. So Subvert flips over to Raid, and Build flips over to Colonize. He only has 3 AP available, and so he can't afford that Raid, and so he won't do it. That's his turn. And now it's my turn. I'm in a pretty okay spot here right now as far as doing actions. I don't think I need to do any, and so I will take the Passage of Time action. And so the first thing I need to do is adjust my population a little bit. Any child in the population display or Passage of Time box can be converted into an adult or an elder. Then I would take family counters from play if the last adult converted into an elder. And then the converted child or elder goes into the out of play, and the new one goes into passage of time. So I'm going to convert this child into, let's see, so if I'm going to make a new family, I actually kind of would want a child in that family, to be honest. Because if I'm going to put a new family out, I want them to be complete so I don't lose culture. And so I might want to keep them as is, though there's a fair chance I lose some elders. So I think I might just keep these as is, because then people in the passage of time box, I'll put all these into a new family. And from there, I'll be able to put a new family into play. So I think I am not going to convert any of these. And then I can move any adult and child counters from the passage of time to an in-play family if I want. And I can move elders from passage of time into elder display. I don't have anything else in here. Again, these guys are still here. And so no elders are going there, and you can't have more than one per box down here. Carlo thinks one child for an elder and a family of 2. Okay, yeah, well, I'll keep following. I was going to go for a complete family unit here, but Carlo, you're saying that I've been following your lead this game and for these kind of choices, and so I will continue to. So we're going to convert the child instead to an elder, and that puts the elder. It will put the elder into this box. Additionally, then I may create a new family if I want, because I have culture, and so the population counters from the passage of time box can go into a new family. Family D is what they will be. And this goes into the canon de Che. So I'll put them right there. Any area, I'm putting them in area 1. It doesn't really matter. Sure, yeah, fair call, Carlo. So I'm going to put him here in the canon de Che. And I will have them next turn move from here out into here. That's going to be my move, but that's next turn. That's not now. And then I will lose 1 culture for every empty family population that's in play. These are all full up, but unfortunately family D is missing a child. And so this child is going to make me lose a culture. But I get 1 for having placed an elder. So it goes right back up, because I put 1 new elder right here. So that counteracts my loss of culture. And then population counters that are left here go away, but I used them all. Then animals breed. I have sheep and horses, which are the only 2 animals in the game. As long as I have a minimum of 1 of each, they get another 1. So I have at least 1 sheep, and so they will create another new sheep. But only 1. If I have 2 sheep, I don't get 2 new sheep. It's 1 sheep creates 1 new sheep. And I have a horse, which will create a new horse. And then I will harvest corn. In every area with a family and a corn counter, the player may harvest the corn counter. And so I can harvest this if I so desire. And the reason I wouldn't is if I leave it here, if raid tokens got all the way out here, which I'm kind of doubting they will, it'll slow them down. But in the meantime, I'm able to harvest that one normally. So we'll stick that in resources, and it is a value 2 corn. And yes, all my elders are old. They certainly are. And so I considering the elder does give me, he gives me culture anyway, it's probably smart for me to do that. All right, and then I have to feed my population. Every population counter that I have in play, which is going to be all these in A, B, C, and D, plus my 4 elders, have to be fed. They each need basically 1 food to be fed. And the amount of food I have, like I mentioned earlier, is based on where I am at. Out here, plus the sheep and corn I have in my resources. So each territory that I have a family provides three food as a baseline. So 3 in San Juan Valley, 3 in Canyon de Chelly, 3 in Shiprock, and 3 in Monument Valley. However, so it's 3, 6, 9, 12. However, drought reduces the amount of food it produces by 1, and these 2 places have 2 drought tokens each. So they're actually only going to give me 1 food each. So instead of that 12, it'll be 8. 3, 6, 7, and 8. So it's 8 food, and I need 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so I still need an additional 7 food. I have these sheep out here, and these sheep will give me 4 each, and this corn will give me 2. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to use 2 sheep here because 4 and 2 is only 6, and that's not enough. So I have to overspend a little bit and get rid of these 2 sheep in order to fully feed my family. But that's not too bad because animals also have to eat, and so having fewer animals means I'll successfully be able to keep them alive. In fact, the next step is going to be feeding animals. And so every territory that has at least a family can feed 1 sheep and 1 horse. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 animals. All my animals are good. They're all going to be fed. They're all spread around. And then I have to roll dice to see if my elders die. Every elder requires a die roll, except for my new one. And if I roll where before when I'm doing checks to see if they can do their actions, here I'm making those checks to see if they die. And so I want to roll outside of these numbers. So for this first one, I want to roll a 4, 5, or 6. Let's we can be grim and we can roll the red die. I believe you do, yes. I think it comes later, Carlo. I think it's like the end of the action. I'm just going down the list in order, but yes, I will lose this corn. It goes bad. So first one, I need a 4, 5, or 6 for him to survive. And I got a 4, so he is A-okay. Then I got my next elder. I need a 5 or a 6 for him to survive. And he got a 4, he is dead. And then this guy needs a 6 to survive. And I got a 2. So 2 of my elders passed away, 2 of them continued on. And now we check to see if we get rid of drought. Because time goes by, the land sort of fertilizes itself, rain comes, hopefully. And so I will roll a die, and in a territory that matches my die roll, I'll lose a drought counter. And I rolled a 1, so Shiprock is going to lose 1 drought counter. After that, this is where I return corn. Corn counters go back into the cup. And then if Pueblo Revolt has been removed from play and there are more than 3 red cubes in here, which there are not more than 3 red cubes, I'm sorry, fewer than 3 red cubes, you would reduce enemy morale. So in this case, there are 3. If there was 1 less, they'd be losing morale, but in this case, they don't. And yes, and I lose culture for the death of my elders. Sorry, forgot to mention that. And then cubes get reset. So rated cubes go into recovery, and we move on. So that is what happens with passage of time. Drawing up this next card. Forgot to flip those over to the right side. And we get a ceremony card. So ceremony's easy. In this case, if I take it, I get a man population into my passage of time box. And enemy raid counters show up otherwise. I think it gives me a 5 on a roll, though, which could be okay. Especially if I do more passage of time. Or not more passage of time, more planning. But for the time being, adding raid count, yeah, we'll take it. We'll take this and we'll add a man to passage of time. And then we draw another card. And it's another ceremony card immediately. So in this instance, because I have this in my hand, this is going to set it off. So first, conduct an enemy way card on all ceremony cards in my hand, which is this one. So this says, for the enemy way text, add 2 enemy raid counters to Santa Fe. They'll be added to the next enemy raid. So I'm adding these 2, and that remains in my hand. And then I can either take this and get a child or discard it. I'm going to opt to just get rid of it. I don't need it. We're throwing it away. And both of those say to reset cubes, so I guess this actually should go in here. All right. And then the next card, which is, oh, hey, look at that. It's Franciscan Faction Ascendant. So that's actually kind of ideal for me right now. Oh, actually, sorry, no, it's not, because I didn't get to move out of Canyon de Chelly. So it's not ideal. It is like probably a turn-off of ideal, because this guy is not going to get me VP. He needed to go here, but he has to come out in Canyon de Chelly. I did not get an operations card since then, so he didn't get a chance to move. So this card will end the game, because now it doesn't always end the game in every scenario. It ends the game in this scenario. It says when Franciscan Faction Ascendant comes out, you will do the victory check and the game will conclude. So let's do what it says. First, conduct 2 build instructions, which if you remember from before, build instructions are going to have them put stuff out here. First build instruction is going to put 1 here. Second build instruction is going to put 1 here. Then all instruction counters on standby column with the cross swap places into the active column. That won't matter right now. We'll still do it. In other scenarios, that could matter, but we're not going to reference this again this game. And then finally, do a 10 VP check or good medicine. So let's go ahead and do that VP check. So here we go. It's a 10 VP check, and I currently have 9 VP, right? 3 plus 4 is 7, plus 2 is 9. So you take 10 off of that number, putting me at a -1. Because of that, I lose a military point. And then, I'm just going to pull this chart up just to make sure I'm getting these all right. There are a lot of steps to a victory check. So I did that. It's a negative number, so I lose military points equal to the negative result, which in this case is -1. You always can only get +1 regardless of how much over the number you are, but you will lose negative. You lose stuff otherwise. So anyway, then subtract morale from military points. So I go from they have 5 morale, I have 6 military. You go from 5 to -6, which puts me at a 1, and then drop their morale to 0. Increase military by the number of mans I have in play, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 knocks me up to there. And then increase the morale the same number of steps I went up, which is going to be 4, from 0 to 4. All right. Then increase culture points for the number of women in play. 1, 2, 3, 4. Culture only go up to 9. And then after I place the women, I lose lose culture for forts. Again, no forts. I can buy development cards, doesn't matter, it's the end of the game. And then set the player's AP to 0 and return all cubes in the raided cube back to the raid pool. Nothing to move there. And remove half population counters in passage of time, which is going to be this 1. And now, at the end of this scenario, they get, because it's this scenario specifically, oh, they actually don't, sorry. They actually don't get anything different. It's only black cubes. Sorry, hang on, I'm looking at the scenario here. Carlo, what do you mean you add the 2 counters just if you take the card? The two of these? You mean the 2 raid counters? outposts. Right. And I forgot, yes, and they get a morale for each outpost. I forgot to knock that up before. I know I'm in a losing situation here because I had to be 2 above them, and I'm not. But yes, you're right. I forgot to knock it up. Enemy, they get morale for adding outposts into the board. It's like an outpost thing. So what do you mean when you say add the 2 counters just if you take the card? You mean the 2 raid counters that I put down? Because the enemy way, you conduct enemy way first on cards in the player's hand, and I did opt to take that first card. You meant the 2 raid counters. Yeah. I know if I didn't have this card in my hand, it wouldn't have gone off, but I did opt to take it. Unless you mean, well, we can talk about that in a minute. Let me finish with this first, because this will be the conclusion. So at this point, if there were black cards in here, they would get bonus morale. If instead there are none, they don't get any bonus morale, and in this scenario, we now check to see if I win or lose. To make that check, we're going to see the difference between the morale, enemy morale, and my military. If I have 3, you subtract enemy morale from my military points. So I would take 6 off of 5, which would put me at -1. So I'm at -1 points right now. If I was at 3 or higher, I would have a major victory. And there's a little chart right here to say what you're checking. So if I had 3 or higher after that equation, I'd have a major victory. If I would have 1 or 2, I'd have a minor victory. If I have 0, -1, or -2, I would have a minor defeat, which is where I'm at. So unfortunately, because I lost, I got knocked down a little bit. I think their morale boosted a bit. I unfortunately got pushed just past the threshold of victory. If I was 2 ahead of them, I would have been knocked down and would have been fine. But instead, I got bumped all the way to the bottom. And unfortunately, this is going to be a defeat, a minor defeat, though, not a major defeat. So that is, that was the first scenario of that game. Kind of talking through it. When I've played it in the past on my own, it's taken maybe an hour. This was almost 3, but that is, with talking through everything with my friend Carlo here helping me out, which I very much appreciate, Carlo. You've been a lot of help in regards to putting together some almost winning strategies, but this card I think came out 1 turn too early. The next card would have been, an operations card, which would have allowed me to move this family member, this D family, into a new land. I would not have lost that military point at the end due to not having enough victory points. I would have actually gained 1, which would have put me in a spot to have a minor victory. But that's how it goes sometimes, I guess. I think I've played this scenario 4 times, and I've won once. But yeah, so that was the first scenario of Navajo Wars. I'd be curious to know, for people that watch this that have played Comancheria but have not played this, how does it seem different? How does it seem like it separates itself from Comancheria? Because Comancheria came after, but my understanding is that they are decently different games. Maybe Comancheria is less military focused, but Navajo Wars has kind of a constant military part to it. I'll have to try it out at some point. I do own it. But that's going to be it. My lovely wife just got home, and I think we're going to make a tasty dinner in a little while. She's just off camera. And so I hope you guys are enjoying your time alone or with your loved ones during this COVID-19 crisis. Stay healthy, stay in high spirits. And I'll be live again probably next week. In the meantime, go check out my first part of my interview with Nate Hayden. It is on my YouTube channel, or it is also on SoundCloud if you just want the audio. There is no video component to it. It is only audio. But I'm at soundcloud.com/phasingplayer. So thank you so much for tuning in or watching this later, and I'm sure I'll come back with another scenario. Maybe we'll just maybe a soft plan. I'm not committing to this, but maybe a soft plan will be to try to play through more scenarios in this, win or lose. Just like keep pushing forward. That was the Rise of the People scenario. The next one is Lords of the Earth. Lords of the Earth is the second one in here. I saw that got mentioned earlier. Yeah, once multiple missions are out, it's tough. Yeah. Both missions. 4 missions total came out in this game, and both were on. 2 came out at a time on the same turns. But no raids. I never got raided, which is nice. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. So thank you so much. If you guys want more, subscribe to the channel, and I will see everyone later. Let me see if I can successfully fade this out here. And where's the fade out button? It's this one. I found it. I'll see you guys later.